That's right, Padmaja. You know, the kind of sermons that come at India, especially in the last 3 to 4 years, have been responded to by Prime Minister Modi and External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, especially from the European Union. And that has been the new India that we speak about. In fact, President Putin recently spoke about it when he said that this is no longer the India that can be ignored. India certainly cannot be ignored and plays a very vital and significant role in global geopolitics. So as of now, President Putin and Prime Minister Modi have reached the Hyderabad house right behind me, just about 100 meters away, where the 23rd India-Russia summit will be beginning. There will be delegation level talks. The big handshake between Modi and Putin, signifying that India-Russia ties have withstood the test of time. You know, ever since the independence, when Nehru, in fact, visited, USSR in 1955 and 61, and thereafter, of course, Indira Gandhi strengthening the ties, and further, the declaration of a strategic partnership that was signed somewhere around 2000, and 25 years later, we have this robust cooperation, a strategic spatial privilege partnership between Moscow and New Delhi that is now being taken to another level. And that too at a time when there has been significant pressure on India. And Russian President Putin, Russia has been supportive of India, not just with the defense, arms and technology, etc., but also with India's strategic autonomy. That has also been questioned time and again by the Western friends of India, especially during the Russia-Ukraine war. But the big message from New Delhi is that India-Russia ties are more stronger than ever. And even though there's been considerable pressure through sanctions on Russia, also questions being raised on India's trade and crude oil purchase from Moscow, but that will certainly continue. There would be, diversification that often happens. It has happened earlier in 22-23, could happen again. But the ties between India and Russia will go from strength to strength. There will be cooperation, not just on defense, trade and crude oil, but also on people-to-people contact, on media ties, and apart from that, also on mobility. A lot of skilled force from India going to Russia, that would be something that would be discussed. There could be some MOUs that could be signed in that direction as well. And automobile sector will be discussed apart from several other indicators. Because remember, Putin isn't alone. There are several ministers that are accompanying him. There's a huge delegation. Okay. And the biggest business delegation in recent years from Russia visiting India.
I want to get a quick word in from Lieutenant General Satish Dua, former Chief of the Integrated Defence Staff, because defence is unignorable, General Dua, when it comes to India and Russia. It has been the most reliable component in many ways of this relationship. We saw it during Operation Sindoor as well. We know that no big announcements as far as defence is concerned are expected during this visit, but it's definitely in the air and always on the table, General Dua.
Yes, Shiv. Let me start with your last sentence first. That there are no big announcements that are likely, but defense is in the air. Our defense agency. Actually, between India and Russia, we don't need big announcements because it's not something that has just started or it's a flash in the pan. It's something that has endured for almost nearly 8 decades or 7.5 decades. Soviet Union earlier and Russia now has, on one hand, been a very trusted partner. I was reading a sentence somewhere which said India and Russia are one of the most resilient bilateral relationships in the world. And to that extent, followed by Russia.
Okay, I'm going to try and, General Dua, my apologies. There seems to be a little bit of a problem with that audio. I'll fix that with you and then we'll come back. But we're going to stay with these images momentarily. This is the Prime Minister and the President of Russia walking into the wonderful Hyderabad house, which is right next to India Gate in central Delhi, where the summit level talks will take place right now. This is the core, this is the heart of this visit. This is where the two leaders will sit across a table and discuss what the two countries are going to agree on going forward.
On the screen right now, a little bit of, let's listen to what's happening.
Для меня лично тоже это важное событие, потому что мы знакомы с вами 25 лет.
एक्सेलेंसी मैं मानता हूं कि ये जो 2001 में अपनी जो भूमिका अदा की, एक विजनरी लीडर कैसे सोचता है, कहां से शुरू करता है और संबंधों को कहां तक पहुंचा सकता है, इसका एक उत्तम उदाहरण भारत रशिया के संबंध है।
Уважаемый господин президент, ваша роль, начиная с 2000 года, за последние 2,5 десятилетия, свидетельствует о вашем дальновидном и твердом руководстве и о том, как развивать двусторонние отношения. И это хороший пример для других отношений, как индийско-российские отношения развиваются.
एक्सेलेंसी, यूक्रेन के संकट के बाद हमारी लगातार चर्चा होती रही है। आपने भी समय समय पर एक सच्चे मित्र के रूप में हमें सभी चीजों से अवगत कराया है। मैं समझता हूं कि विश्वास बहुत बड़ी ताकत है और आपको मैंने अनेक बार इस विषय की चर्चा भी की है और विश्व समक्ष भी मैंने रखा है कि विश्व का कल्याण शांति के मार्ग पर ही है। हम सबको मिलकर के शांति के रास्ते तलाशने चाहिए और पिछले दिनों जो प्रयास चल रहे हैं, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि विश्व फिर से एक बार शांति की दिशा में लौटेगा।
Уважаемый господин президент, мы регулярно обмениваемся мнениями по поводу Украины. Вы, как истинный друг, рассказываете мне о том, что происходит в этом направлении. Это свидетельствует о глубоком доверии между нашими странами. Это и есть сила, настоящая сила наших отношений. Мы видим, мир переживает очень много перемен, но мы последовательно поддерживаем позиции установления мира, скорейшего установления мира, и поддерживаем все усилия, недавние в этом направлении. И мы должны все работать сообща для того, чтобы работать в этом направлении для установления мира. И я полностью уверен, что мир пойдет вновь на этом пути.
एक्सेलेंसी, पिछले दिनों विश्व समुदाय के सभी नेताओं से जब भी मेरी बात हुई है और उन्होंने जब विस्तार से मेरी चर्चा की, मैंने हमेशा कहा है कि भारत न्यूट्रल नहीं, भारत का पक्ष है और वो पक्ष शांति का है। हम शांति के हर प्रयासों का समर्थन करते हैं और हम शांति के हर प्रयासों के साथ कंधे से कंधा मिला करके खड़े हैं।
Ваше превосходительство, когда я встречаюсь с мировыми лидерами, я всегда им говорю, что Индия не нейтральная страна. У Индии нет нейтральной позиции, у нас своя позиция, и это позиция в пользу мира, это позиция мира. И мы поддерживаем все усилия, которые направлены на установление мира, и мы будем двигаться плечом к плечу со всеми державами, которые держатся этой пути.
पूरे विश्व ने कोविड से लेकर के अब तक कई संकटों से गुजरा है। हम आशा करते हैं कि बहुत ही जल्द विश्व को चिंताओं से मुक्ति मिलेगी और एक सही दिशा में प्रगति के राह पर विश्व समुदाय को एक नई आशा पैदा होगी। एक्सेलेंसी, मुझे पूरा भरोसा है कि आज दिन भर हम अनेक विषयों पर चर्चा करने वाले हैं। भारत और रशिया के आर्थिक संबंधों का अधिक विस्तार हो, हम नई नई ऊंचाइयों को प्राप्त करें, ऐसे बहुत ही आशावादी आउटकम के साथ हम हमारी इस मीटिंग को आगे बढ़ाएंगे, ये पूरा विश्वास है।
Уважаемый господин президент, весь мир страдал от пандемии ковид, и были также разные другие кризисы, поэтому мы надеемся, что мир вновь на пути прогресса, развития, и наша встреча будет вселить надежду в этот вопрос. Уважаемый господин президент, сегодня весь день мы будем разговаривать по разным темам. Пускай наша встреча придаст новый импульс нашему экономическому сотрудничеству. Мы возлагаем большие надежды на нашу сегодняшнюю встречу, и мы ожидаем хороших результатов по итогам нашей встречи.
माय फ्रेंड, मैं फिर से एक बार आपका और आपके डेलीगेशन हृदय से बहुत बहुत स्वागत करता हूँ।
Дорогой друг, еще раз хотел бы поприветствовать вас и вашу делегацию в Индии.
Спасибо.
Спасибо большое. Thank you very much.
Уважаемый господин премьер-министр, дорогие друзья, прежде всего спасибо большое за приглашение.
Excellency, Prime Minister, dear friends, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me.
И за вчерашний очень добрый вечер.
And for the yesterday's evening too, it was very good.
Дружеский, в то же время с такой содержательной, очень полезной беседой.
We had a friendly and at the same time a very substantial talk.
У нас была возможность, и дали мне такую возможность подробно рассказать о том, что происходит на как раз украинском направлении.
I could share a great deal of details about the events taking place in Ukraine.
И что нами предпринимается совместно с некоторыми другими партнерами, в том числе с Соединенными Штатами, по вопросу возможного мирного урегулирования этого кризиса.
And the actions we are taking together with some partners, including the United States, on a possible peaceful settlement.
Спасибо вам за это внимание и спасибо за ваши усилия, направленные на разрешение этой ситуации.
Thank you for the attention and for your efforts aimed at finding a solution to this situation.
Что касается наших отношений, то они действительно носят очень глубокий исторический характер, как бы мы его не характеризовали, какими бы эпитетами его не украшали. Важно другое, важно содержание. Содержание очень глубокое.
Our relations are deeply rooted into history, but it is not the words that matter, it is the substance of the matter which is very profound.
Мы этим очень дорожим, и мы видим, что вы, уважаемый господин премьер-министр, уделяете этому тоже очень большое личное внимание.
We really appreciate that, and the fact that you, Excellency Prime Minister, pay special personal attention to that.
За прошедшие годы нами проделана очень большая работа в развитии наших отношений.
Over the past years, we have done a great deal of work to develop our relationship.
И по мере развития наших стран, по мере развития экономик наших государств, возможности нашего сотрудничества расширяются.
As our countries and our economies move forward, we have more opportunities for cooperation.
У нас появляются новые направления.
We open additional areas for cooperation,
связанные с высокими технологиями,
including those related to high-tech,
связанные с развитием и совместной работы в области авиации, космоса, высоких технологий в широком смысле слова, искусственного интеллекта.
As well as the cooperation of aircraft, space exploration, high-tech and artificial intelligence.
У нас очень доверительные отношения в сфере военно-технического взаимодействия.
We have very close and trusting cooperation in the military and technical area.
Мы намерены двигаться по всем этим направлениям.
And we are planning to move forward in all of these areas.
Это только лишний раз подчеркивает уровень, характер и доверительность наших связей.
This once again underscores the level and the trust of our relationship.
Наши команды очень хорошо поработали в преддверии этого визита.
Our teams have done a great work before this visit.
Подготовлен целый ряд документов солидных.
They have prepared a great number of documents for us.
У нас есть возможность на чем-то остановиться, что-то обсудить дополнительно.
We have an opportunity to talk in more detail about some of them.
И уверен, что мы сегодняшний рабочий день завершим с хорошим результатом.
I am sure that we will have a very fruitful working day.
Спасибо.
Thank you very much.
All right, so lots of important points over there. Vladimir Putin and Prime Minister Modi speaking on Ukraine. This is significant. And in a sense, the takeaway from so far of the visit, I would suggest, in terms of the content of conversations, the Prime Minister called Putin a visionary leader. He spoke about the Ukraine crisis. He spoke about India not being, independent or neutral, but was firmly in the side of peace, not neutral, on the side of peace, hope for global peace and progress. Very significantly, Vladimir Putin told the Prime Minister about the Ukraine process, about the peace settlement that he was working on. He says that he shared Ukraine details with India.
विश्व बहुत बड़ी ताकत है, विश्वास बहुत बड़ी ताकत है. विश्व का कल्याण शांति के मार्ग पर ही है. हम सबको शांति के रास्ते पर चलना है. We all have to walk on the path of peace. And again, underlining what Vishnu just said, the Prime Minister again, and I think this is for the third or the fourth time that he's making it clear, we are not a neutral party in this conflict. हम शांति के हर प्रयास का समर्थन करते हैं. हम शांति के हर प्रयास के साथ कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर खड़े हैं. We are on the side of peace. very firmly again underlining that we want an end to the conflict without saying it in so many words. We are on the side of peace and a constant exchange of information is taking place, Vedika.
And it's the third time he said it? It's the third time.
It is. And also it's interesting because this perhaps would have been a part of the talks yesterday during the informal dinner that Prime Minister Modi had with President Putin. But US is watching closely, of course, and perhaps they'll be a bit happy today that this is something that the Prime Minister has said right before the bilateral talks, Shiv. He's made it clear that India is on the side of peace, while you have Trump there trying to send his people across, trying to strike a deal for peace between Ukraine and Russia.
And it also establishes consistency. The fact that the Prime Minister has said it once, I'm forgetting which summit it was where he said it first. Then he said it when he met the president.
He said it in Kiev.
Earlier in Kiev.
He said it in Kiev when he went to visit Zelensky.
Not just to Zelensky, but I'm saying to Putin personally.
Yeah.
This is the third time he's saying it to Putin personally. He has said it over a phone call as well, so that's probably 4 times.
And he said, I've repeatedly been talking to you about
So this kind of radiates
the Prime Minister's.
It's not a one-off remark.
100%. This has been India's policy on Ukraine, and this is out in External Affairs Ministry statements as well. This is what the Prime Minister said in Moscow. Our Prime Minister said this in Kiev as well. We want a diplomatic solution, a peaceful outcome to the war between Russia and Ukraine. He's just saying the same things in different words.
And this line, what Putin has said, we've shared Ukraine details with India, and we are working on a peaceful settlement. So here, the Prime Minister is saying, listen, we're on the side of peace. This is the only path on which the entire world should be walking. Tara Kartha joins us now on this broadcast. And the Russian president also reciprocating, saying we are working on a peaceful settlement.
Big words.
Your first thoughts, ma'am?
See, talking about peace is not just some, wishful Gandhian concept of peace. This is practical politics. We need peace in Russia because otherwise you're not going to get to very basic stuff. Your defense orders are not coming in because they don't have the bandwidth to give you that stuff. 1. Number 2, if private investors, if you have to get those rupees which is lying in Russia across, you need private investment to go there. Nobody is going to go as long as there is a war. Number 3, if there is to be energy continuation via the Petersburg route, that again, you can't, it's all very well to say that, we have this great relationship with Russia, which is true, which is absolutely true. It goes beyond, there's a certain continuity to it. But the basic fact is your largest trade partner is the US. So there are limits to what you can do as long as this war goes on. And let me tell you, we also have ties with Ukraine in terms of defense. So those are things we would like to perhaps, you're now sort of shifting, your purchases a lot. But if this war ends, it's good for us. It's as simple as that. So it's not just, peace for peace's sake. It's also moral dimension.
But Ms. Kartha, it's also about that fine balance now in terms of India. You have, the biggest trading partner, and then you have the country called Russia here that gives you your biggest defense deals. For Prime Minister Modi and his government, it's about walking that fine line, ma'am.
Yes, it is. And if you notice, this is a very interesting thing. Much of your purchases for the Indian Ocean side, when you're talking of the Navy, you're talking of recently 7,555 crore deal for MH-60 helicopter sustainment with the US. That is anti-submarine warfare. So all the Indian Ocean related, Navy related is largely now going to the US. Your GE engines are powering instead of your traditional reliance. You still have the Lee submarine, which is great. But that's how it is in terms of the sea-based systems. Land, you're still with the Russian systems. Right? You're talking of the S-400s because you cannot marry these two. The Sukhoi deal, let's see if that goes through. There were some reservations on that earlier by the Air Force themselves. Let's see how that goes. But if you can maintain this, you can still buy from Russia, provided, again, they start giving you ability to make spares here. This dependency for spares on Russia, which has been gone on for decades, is not healthy for the relationship. It's high time we move to getting spares made here rather than running at the last minute.
Vasudha is also joining us live. Vasudha, bilateral meeting underway. We've just heard key significant statements from both the leaders of India as well as Russia. Just take us through what we should expect. MOUs to be signed, no big defense deals on the agenda. But this, of course, is symbolic. There's a messaging going out from Kremlin as well at this point, as well from India. Ukraine was the focus of that discussion between the two leaders right before they entered the room for the meeting.
That's right, Vedika. In fact, Ukraine was a big talking point amongst in the conversations that happened between these two world leaders, is what I've been told. And India has maintained its position. Remember, it was just last year that the Prime Minister made it a point to tell Mr. Putin, President Putin, that ye yudh ka yug nahi hai. This is not the time for war, and there are no solutions in the battlefield. India has remained consistent in this position, even while maintaining its multi-alignment policy and walking that tightrope between balancing its interest with the West and also maintaining its time-tested friendship with Russia. The Prime Minister has consistently said that India is on the side of peace, which is what he has reiterated today. In fact, he has also given President Putin a copy of the Gita, which also in some ways is symbolic in many ways, because the Gita also talks about the futility of war. So clearly many symbolic undertones there. But the bilateral meetings that are going to happen are very important. My government sources have told me that there are three important things to look forward to. One is that India-Russia Cooperation Pact is going to be signed, in which there is going to be a 5-year plan to look at the areas that can be, that can be grown, that can be expanded, and there is a trade deficit between India and Russia that needs to be solved, that India needs to also explore so that it gets more jobs for Indians. The second thing is a labor mobility pact, and of course there's something expected on shipping as well, specifically on the project related to connecting Vladivostok and Chennai, both port cities of these two countries.
But the peaceful settlement comment by the leaders, what's the exchange that's just taken place between them, I want to play that out because this is the big headline moment from today.
एक्सेलेंसी, पिछले दिनों विश्व समुदाय के सभी नेताओं से जब भी मेरी बात हुई है और उन्होंने जब विस्तार से मेरे चर्चा की, मैंने हमेशा कहा है कि भारत न्यूट्रल नहीं है, भारत का पक्ष है और वो पक्ष शांति का है। हम शांति के हर प्रयासों का समर्थन करते हैं और हम शांति के हर प्रयासों के साथ कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर के खड़े हैं। एक्सेलेंसी, यूक्रेन के संकट के बाद हमारी लगातार चर्चा होती रही है। आपने भी समय समय पर एक सच्चे मित्र के रूप में हमें सभी चीजों से अवगत कराया है। मैं समझता हूं कि विश्वास बहुत बड़ी ताकत है और आपको मैंने अनेक बार इस विषय की चर्चा भी की है और विश्व समक्ष भी मैंने रखा है कि विश्व का कल्याण शांति के मार्ग पर ही है। हम सबको मिलकर के शांति के रास्ते तलाशने चाहिए और पिछले दिनों जो प्रयास चल रहे हैं, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि विश्व फिर से एक बार शांति की दिशा में लौटेगा। 2001 में जब आपने कार्यभार संभाला और भारत की आपकी यात्रा पहली हुई, उसको आज 25 साल हो गए और उस पहली यात्रा में ही स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप की एक मजबूत नींव रखी गई थी। मेरे लिए पर्सनली भी खुशी की बात है कि आपके साथ मेरे परिचय को और संबंधों को उसको भी 25 साल हो गए हैं। एक्सेलेंसी, मैं मानता हूं कि ये जो 2001 में आपने जो भूमिका अदा की, एक विजनरी लीडर कैसे सोचता है, कहां से शुरू करता है और संबंधों को कहां तक पहुंचा सकता है, इसका एक उत्तम उदाहरण भारत रशिया के संबंध है।
Okay, the IndiGo chaos continues to be the big story here on NDTV. We'll keep an eye on what's happening between Putin and Modi and we'll update you as soon as it happens. But this is the story facing the country today, viewer. Just look at these 10 images from different cities in the country. Horrifying, nightmarish images facing lakhs of passengers courtesy IndiGo, once considered the most reliable airline, most dependable airline, it is completely overwhelmed. From Delhi to Mumbai to Goa to Jaipur to Kolkata to Chennai to Hyderabad to Bengaluru to Chandigarh, anywhere that this airline operates, they've been completely jammed. Their systems are overwhelmed at this point of time. I want you to take a look at this set of ground reports, the very latest that we're bringing in from our reporters.
Joining me here, his flight has also been cancelled. Where were you travelling to and when did you get to know that your flight's cancelled?
So I'm traveling to Raipur and I got to know about it when I was on my way, particularly, and I was just about to reach the airport that your flight is cancelled. Plus then I came over here, I went for the inquiry. It took me around 2 hours to stand on that line and to get to know about the flight being cancelled. And it's not that far. If you see the boarding way, display board, it's showing that the check-in is still going on. I'm not sure the things which are going on between the IndiGo and delegation, but it's not correct. I believe the thing is not about the full compensation as well.
Yeah, exactly. Have you been told when is your next flight? Have you been able to book the next flight?
So they are saying that we can't give any flight for today. We can try for tomorrow, not for today. And since we have 3 passengers right now, so for no one we are not getting any. Like we are not getting any possibility of getting any flight by today. Yeah. Even the connecting one.
That's what we're seeing here. These are the kind of people stranded at Delhi airport and across all airports, and with no information, and even with other airlines. This is what's happening now, that of course, naturally speaking, the demand has fallen onto the other airlines. So the prices, the airfares have skyrocketed across other carriers as well.
Chennai airport has hundreds of passengers with IndiGo tickets have got stranded. For the first time, the CISF at the entrances are not allowing passengers with IndiGo tickets, as IndiGo flights across the country have been cancelled except the international flights. This is the 3rd day of this kind of a major disruption and hardship. Passengers are stranded and many have no option to continue their travel plans with other flights, as they say tickets have become very, very expensive, something they cannot afford, and the refund, although IndiGo offers, could take a long time to come. Tell us about your situation.
So actually I'm an employee, government employee in IIT Dhanbad. So I have to go and join there yesterday itself, but then flight got cancelled and now it has got cancelled. They are not letting us inside. So we are just standing here in the airport. We have a child of 2 years old, and it becomes difficult. At least they could have informed us some few hours before, so that we do not have to.
What are your options now?
We have almost no options.
अभी मेरे बच्चे का स्केटिंग का कंपटीशन है, विशाखापट्टनम की हमारी फ्लाइट थी, लेकिन वो अब कैंसिल हुई है. 5 बजे तक हमें पहुंच.
You're traveling to Visakhapatnam, is it?
Yes.
And no flights now?
No, we are going to by bus now.
Today cancel all the flights. So reschedule करने के लिए बोल रहे हैं, लेकिन हम तो 2 दिन यहाँ रुक नहीं सकते.
So passengers hope this will come to an end soon. But today there's no fresh statement yet from the IndiGo management, although yesterday they had assured that they're working to normalize operations soon. At the Chennai airport with Suresh, Sam Daniel, for NDTV.
Chaos prevailed across airports in India as IndiGo flights remain delayed and cancelled in the airports in the country. 3 days on, more than 1,000 flights of the IndiGo has been cancelled and delayed due to certain challenges that the 20-year-old airline, who claimed to be before time departure and before time arrival, remained delayed and cancelled, leaving passengers stranded in the airports, and at a time when it is peak holiday season in the country, the year end. I have some passengers with me.
We have been knowing that some disruptions are there, but that it will be cancelled. We thought that it will be delayed. So we crossed our fingers and came here and figured out that it has been cancelled right now. And so it was supposed to be a holiday. No rescheduling, but right now we got a email which said that your flight is we figured it out here, and then we got this email that it's cancelled and we'll refund you everything, but nothing about rescheduling.
After rescheduling multiple times, now it got cancelled for the day. There is no flight for South today for Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Coimbatore, Trichy or any other airports in South. I have requested them to direct me to whatever the nearest airport to Chennai, and there is no flight today. Tomorrow any Chennai flight today is at 30,000, 25,000 per head. It's not viable to go. How can a government allow prices to go up? There has to be a price bracket of any airline.
I mean, look at the reactions that from people over there. These are ordinary commuters, citizens. They are livid. Somebody could have a medical emergency. You could be going for an exam. You could be, with ailing, aged parents.
You can't get to where you want to go. You can't.
And the pictures there of, hundreds of suitcases strewn at the terminal.
And little communication, Padmaja. Little communication.
That's the worst. So, Tanushka, in fact, and let's go straight across to our colleagues. You've got Deepak, Ratnadeep, Sam Daniel, all there at the various
Padmaja, can I interrupt for 30
Yeah.
seconds? Before we go across to Deepak and Ratnadeep who are waiting, we were talking about this 30 seconds back. I typed New Delhi to Mumbai on Make My Trip for flights today. The number of flights available for me to book, 0. Why? Because there are no IndiGo flights which are operating from Delhi. You heard that right. According to the airport, according to Delhi Airport, they've tweeted this out, all IndiGo flights from Delhi to all across the country are cancelled. So when I went and typed Delhi to Mumbai, there were no options on any airline. Why? Simply because all other seats would have been booked out. So Vedika, what I did then is to look for flights tomorrow, Saturday, December 6th, one way, Delhi to Mumbai, on Make My Trip. There is a SpiceJet flight that takes off at 12:30 a.m. A one-way ticket costs 24,088 rupees. I thought that's an anomaly. Let's move on to other tickets and other airlines. Air India, for a 5 p.m. flight tomorrow to Bombay, is costing 25,161 rupees. Air India's 10 p.m. flight is costing 21,161.
And that's just one sector, Vishnu. I'm looking at Calcutta now.
Yeah.
Delhi to Kolkata tomorrow. SpiceJet flight at 10:20 is 38,000.
That's ridiculous.
699.
No, so I have a question. In all of this, where is the Ministry of Civil Aviation?
Where is the minister?
But shouldn't the ministry be stepping in and at least stop this price which is being hiked in this
No, it's extortion. There's no two ways of...
And you're going to have a spillover effect on the trains as well, and that's what our reporters are telling us. Let's cut across, in fact, to Deepak Bopana, Sam Daniel and Ratnadeep. This one picture which has just been put out by a viewer in Bengaluru, Kempegowda Airport. So I want to come to you first, Deepak. This is ridiculous. It looks worse than the kind of bus terminals we used to see about a couple of decades ago. You've got hundreds of people who are just sleeping at the airport because they don't even know when they're going to get on the next flight. What are those around you telling you?
Well, everyone is really in a terrible state because they're not getting clarity here. I'm going to just first show you pictures of what's the scene here at the IndiGo kiosk at the Kempegowda International Airport. This is the Terminal 1 at the domestic departure gate, and you can see at least about 100-150 people waiting, and most of these people have no clarity at all as to what's going to happen. So let's try and get in a word from some of the people here. They've been agitated as soon as they see, some of us from the media reporting it. They want to really share their agony as well. Bataiye, what sort of problems have you been facing?
Sir, I am Advocate Tripathi from Mumbai. Sir, मेरी फ्लाइट थी 2 बजे की. कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन है ही नहीं. इंडिगो का कोई स्टाफ कोऑपरेट कर नहीं रहा है. रिफंड वगैरह की क्या करना है, रीशेड्यूल क्या करना है, कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं है, कोई जानकारी नहीं है. इवन को बता भी नहीं रहे हैं कि जो सामान अंदर ऑलरेडी चले गए उसको कैसे निकालना है, कैसे बाहर करना है. कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं है. मोस्टली सारी ट्रैफिक कैंसिल, फ्लाइट कैंसिल.
भी आपका जा रहे हैं?
मैं शरद कोठारी, मैं इंदौर से आया था. मैं बेंगलोर से अभी बॉम्बे जाना था मुझे, और वहाँ पर मेरा एक मैरिज था अभी हाल. अब जब मैंने यहाँ पर अभी सुबह ट्राई किया तो पूरे इंडिकेटर मोबाइल पे भी दिखा रहा है कि आपका फ्लाइट टाइम पे हैगा, आप चले जाइए. मैं अभी हाल 150 किलोमीटर दूर से चल के यहाँ पर आया हूँ, और यहाँ आने के बाद देख रहा हूँ कि साहब फ्लाइट आपका कैंसिल. मैंने डीजी यात्रा देखा, बोले कैंसिल. आप बोले काउंटर पर चले जाइए. जब मैं काउंटर पर आया हूँ तो यहाँ पर 2 घंटे पहले से जो लाइन लगी थी वो मूव ही नहीं हो रही है मतलब
Well, that's a big problem. You know, on one hand, people can have, I mean, yes, there are cancellations. IndiGo has confirmed that, you know, they're facing problems, but not giving people clarity. That is the biggest concern. And now he mentioned about a wedding, and I just want to highlight this story that has now come to the fore from Hubli, where a couple was in fact forced to actually have their own reception online. You know, this happened where a couple from Bhubaneswar were supposed to reach Hubli, and they couldn't really make it here because both of them were flying IndiGo, and their flights got cancelled, and eventually, you know, they appeared online for their own reception. Let me try and get in a word. I just spoke to a few of them a little while earlier as well. Tell me, madam, if you could just turn around and tell us what sort of problems have you been facing? Could you just give us a little bit of a lowdown on how long have you been waiting? If you could just turn around for the cameras. Yes, go ahead.
Right, so I think there was no intimation done, and I've traveled like around 2.5 hours to reach here.
Yeah.
And when I come here, and I was doing a Digi Yatra check-in, and that's when it showed that the flight's been cancelled.
Yeah.
And there are no flights. I think the next IndiGo flight is in the late evening, and I don't know about the status of that flight too. So, you know, that's a long queue that we're waiting here for. A lot of trouble.
And stories like this, of course, are very, very common. Most of them, the bigger concern that they're facing as they wait in these queues is there's no clarity as to what's coming their way. There are random reasons that are being given by the airline staff here. Some of them say that your ticket is cancelled. Some of them, your flight is cancelled. Some of them say the flight is going to be delayed. Now here you have a young child, and imagine the plight of the mother and the grandparents who've come in. I just spoke to you, ma'am, a little while ago. You had come with your young kid. Tell me how difficult has it been waiting here?
See, I cannot even call on the customer care. Their line is not responding, and now I have to stand here and whatnot.
Where are you trying to fly to?
We are trying to fly to Delhi.
Delhi. Well, so the problems, of course, are plenty. The solutions at this point in time are very few. Yes, they have admitted that there's a shortage of staff, but at least giving customers some sort of clarity so that they don't have to really be stranded in the fashion that they have been will be of great help to the commuters.
You've got a wedded couple who are forced to attend their own wedding reception online. And that's not even the least of troubles that people are facing. That young lady with an infant, where is she supposed to go? What is she supposed to do? At the very least, what someone can do is give coherent communication. Tanushka has sent a case study of a flyer of a commuter who got contradictory messages within 10 minutes. First, they were told your flight is cancelled, then got another message from IndiGo saying, thank you for checking in. We welcome you on board. What is this person supposed to do?
And in the direct line of fire would be the ground staff.
Exactly. So you've got people who are protesting inside the airport terminal. I heard a horror story of somebody who was actually made to get onto the bus, and then they just sat inside the bus for 1 hour, not knowing whether they are going to board the flight, whether the flight is going to take off. And the last update that we've seen from the Ministry of Civil Aviation, Ratnadeep, was about 14 hours ago from 9:36 p.m. when the Civil Aviation Minister said, reviewed the operations of IndiGo along with senior officials of the Ministry of Civil Aviation and DGCA. I have instructed DGCA and concerned officials at the ministry to keep a close watch on the network and directed IndiGo to normalize the operations at the earliest. If anything, Vishnu, things have just gone downhill from there. Between 9:36 yesterday and today, things have devolved and have become worse. In addition, says the minister, AAI and other airport operators have also been directed to provide all support to the stranded passengers. I think we can safely say none of that has happened.
All right, we're going to go across to Ratnadeep now. He's outside the Guwahati airport. Ratnadeep, what's important to note here is also that flights are not taking off from New Delhi today, IndiGo flights, which means that there won't be flights even returning from other places, correct? Tell us what's happening at the Guwahati airport. Is the mayhem as bad as Bengaluru, as bad as the national capital at this point?
That's right. In fact, yesterday there were 8 flights of IndiGo that got cancelled out of Guwahati, and several flights were delayed for hours together. But the situation actually today is even worse, with flights not taking off from Delhi. Remember, several flights to Northeast India, particularly Guwahati airport, from where we are reporting. This airport not only connects Northeast to other parts of the country, but also is a key hub for regional connectivity within the Northeast. And remember, IndiGo is a lone service provider in several sectors within the Northeast. For example, the connectivity between Guwahati to Aizawl. You can see here, we are outside the IndiGo kiosks, and here the people whose flights have been cancelled, they're asking for refund, they're asking for if there are alternate people who are waiting since yesterday. We would like to talk to some of the people here who actually had to travel all the way from different places of Northeast. Remember, since it serves as a regional connectivity hub, so therefore people would take overnight buses or...
There seems to be a connectivity issue there. Ratnadeep, we're going to come back to you. But just to let you know, at least 500 flights, IndiGo flights, have been cancelled today. The Delhi airport will not be operating flights in terms of departures from the New Delhi airport. Those are the latest lines we have for you. Of course, we will bring you more updates. But for now, we're sipping a short break. We'll be back with more news on the IndiGo crisis, the meltdown, in moments from now.
सल्यूट है जी, आप देश की रक्षा में जान लगा देते हैं और आप घर घर में तार लगाते हैं जी। ई बीम टेक्नोलॉजी से बनी, न जले न पिघले, सबकी रक्षा करे।
हम सरहद पर लोगों की रक्षा करते हैं और आप देश के अंदर। सल्यूट तो बनता है जी।
अपार अणुशक्ति फायर प्रोटेक्ट वायर, अपार देश का तार।
21 days in Kashmir. People have bombarded me, friends, with requests for an unfiltered list of things I saw and observed on the ground. Very special ground report from the line of control. There were some children who've lost limbs in the shelling. They're now India's smallest but possibly the most powerful crime family. Cough syrup has killed at least 25 children. Gaikwad sahab, aise mat kijiye. Suddenly people are wondering about the weaponization of India-Pakistan cricket. We live and breathe elections. You will not believe your eyes or ears when I show you what I'm about to do. And for a country that has fought so many wars in the mountains and at high altitude, we're standing on the Indian Navy's newest warship, the line of control, Shiv Arur, NDTV.
All right, a complete meltdown as far as Indian aviation is concerned. What I'm going to try and do at this stage is explain to you what exactly has taken place in IndiGo. A lot of people wondering how India's most reliable airline has seen this cascading network issue. Now, there's something called flight duty time limitations, FDTL. This is essentially a safety regulation which governs the number of hours that pilots can safely operate. If they fly more than that, there's a sense that fatigue can impact pilots. You don't want our pilots to be tired, right? So let's take a look at what the old rules were. The old rules were 2019 rules. There was a weekly rest of 36 hours that was allowed. In other words, pilots did not, in IndiGo and other airlines, get 2 days off. There's a new rule which has come into place. It's come into place in 2 tranches that says that there need to be 48 consecutive hours of leave. So you can't have like a few hours on one day that you get off or maybe a day off. There has to be 2 days right off. So with 2 days off is 48 hours The old rule says that there's something called night duty. You can operate on night sectors between 12 a.m. and 5 a.m. The new rules say that night duty has been extended up till 6 a.m. Now, this becomes problematic, and I will explain to you in a little while why. It has to do with the number of flights that you can operate during night duty. Now, here's what I was talking about. The maximum flight duty period for night operations, remember many of our flights operate at night, used to be 13 hours. That's come down to 10 hours. What does that mean? It means that to operate the number of flights that you seek, you need to have more pilots. The question is, where are the pilots? Let's move to the next point. And the next point will give you the maximum number of landings. Before, the old rules allowed up to 6. A pilot could land at night up to 6 times. That's come down to just 2. But airlines are now in trouble. If a pilot can only land two times at night, then, and you have a certain number of flights as per your schedule, where are you going to get pilots to fill those flights and operate them? So there's that weekly rest hour chaos, the number of flights that you can operate, the hours that you need to take rest. All of it has meant, as far as IndiGo is concerned, that they just don't have enough pilots to fly their planes. This is an airline which is among the fastest growing in the world. They've been inducting aircraft sometimes once a week. The order book is the largest in the world for A320 class aircraft. There is one more point over here. In the old rules, a fatigue risk management system was not mandatory. Airlines didn't need to have a system which actively monitored risks. Now, the government has said, can we go back to the previous points? The government has now ruled out that fatigue is something that needs to be mandated within the system. Now, I've done the math, and it basically means that if IndiGo were to operate their existing number of flights per their system presently with the new rules, they would need many more pilots. So what is the shortage of pilots? They are 935 pilots short for pilots in command, right? And they are 205 pilots short for first officers. That's what is the crisis in IndiGo right now. The first priority, this is what the numbers are, what they actually have. By first priority, it means captains, and the second one refers to first officers. This is what they have, and I gave you the numbers prior to this of the shortage, which they actually, this is what they require. So you've seen what the shortage numbers actually are. We're going to take a short break at this stage, come back with a lot more.
Across the country, he has tracked the pulse of power from Washington to Korea. Witnessed history being made in global capitals and conflict zones. Brought clarity to complex issues of national security and international affairs. Aditya Raj Kaul, covering international affairs like no one else. Only on NDTV network.
Two world leaders, one crucial meet. Putin says Namaste India. The bonhomie, the Big Bang deals.
भारत और रूस हमेशा कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर चले.
Strategic shifts and the global impact. NDTV tracks the high-stakes handshake. Modi-Putin summit. On NDTV 24/7.
Pulling us into this country.
They argue, I conclude. They deflect, I drill down. This isn't a free-for-all. It's a reckoning. No filler, no fog. Only the facts and where they lead. Every night at 9, the case closes because the buck stops here.
I don't sugarcoat. I shoot straight and tell you stories the way they need to be told.
Welcome back. Huge indigo crisis, not only in New Delhi, but across the nation. In Delhi itself, we're being told that no flights, indigo flights, will be taking off at least till midnight, which means that flights that were to land in other cities, obviously, have also been impacted. Let's take you through the headlines at this hour. Indigo crisis escalates and leads to massive confusion. Delhi airport claims all indigo flights cancelled till midnight. Indigo disputes the detail. Aviation regulator says, as per Indigo, flights cancelled till 3 this afternoon. Massive passenger chaos at multiple airports across the country. Indigo passengers stranded due to last-minute cancellations. Videos show baggage strewn around with no staff to take care of them. Very little communication, passengers claim, coming from the Indigo ground staff at this point. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin discuss war and peace. PM Modi says India is firmly on side of peace. Putin assures a peaceful solution to the war in Ukraine. The latest in the Deepam Rao, the Tamil Nadu government has moved the Supreme Court against the High Court order. BJP overnight protests against DMK in Chennai, and Stalin says Madurai must choose between development and politics. There's good news for home buyers as your EMIs are set to get cheaper. RBI slashes repo rate by 25 basis points to 5.25%. We begin with the indigo chaos that is continuing. Over 500 indigo flights have been cancelled this morning. That's a huge number that we're talking about. And what's worse is the confusion which has been triggered from it. While the Delhi airport has claimed that all indigo flights till midnight are cancelled, Indigo itself has disputed this claim. The airline says flights are cancelled till about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Meanwhile, over 100 flights each have been cancelled in Bengaluru and Mumbai, and nearly 100 flights cancelled in Hyderabad as well. Videos from Delhi showed how passengers were kept waiting for hours with little or no communication, with no crew member to handle their baggage. Videos from Hyderabad show passengers raising slogans against Indigo as passengers, according to these passengers, there was no food or accommodation even provided to them, with some of them even sleeping on the floor of the airports. At Goa airport, passengers were seen arguing with the CISF guards as hundreds of passengers were left stranded for hours at the airport. Meanwhile, the Indigo CEO has issued an apology saying that they are sorry for not being able to live up to the promises.
You know, what I can actually tell you at this stage, Vedika, is that what we're looking at over here, and we've got these pictures on your screen, and I don't tend to exaggerate much, maybe occasionally, is the biggest crisis in Indian civil aviation apart from when you have a tragedy like AI 171. What we're seeing over the last couple of days is the biggest single crisis in Indian civil aviation if you've got India's largest carrier, IndiGo, in essentially a rostering free fall. It's a cascading situation. Their network is entirely shot, tens of thousands of passengers being impacted every day.
Yes.
You know, you were talking about 100 flights cancelled here, 200 flights cancelled here. Can I just suggest that the actual numbers may be much larger?
Yes.
You may be looking at something like they operate 2,200 flights a day. By the end of today, we might well be in a situation where it's more than 550 flights which have been cancelled in the last 24 odd hours. It could well be more than that.
Which is already more than 25% of what they operate.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And the reason I say so is primarily Delhi, because if you look at Delhi right now, with no IndiGo flights departing from Delhi, that's what the airline, I beg your pardon, that's what the airport has said, then in a tweet, right? Then that's an incredible crisis which the airline faces. And you know what we were doing is also focusing, and because that's the idea of our programming over here, is let's just focus on passengers. If you're a passenger and you're looking to travel, for example, between Delhi and Bombay. And if I can just ask a camera person to zoom in over here on one of these cameras, if you can just move to the camera and zoom in onto this particular shot. What I'm looking at is Make My Trip. And on Make My Trip, I tried to book a ticket between Delhi and Mumbai for today. The number of options I had on the flagship route within the country, 0, right? Why? Because IndiGo isn't operating. So I decided to keep looking for flights tomorrow. And so I got on to Make My Trip. I typed New Delhi to Mumbai. And this is what I'm actually getting at this stage. I don't know if you can see this clearly. I'll try and make it a little bit more clear. And it shows a SpiceJet flight at 12:30 a.m. costing 24,008 rupees. This is absolutely incredible. This is a one-way ticket to Bombay from Delhi, right, costing 24,000. Now, this is something which all airlines. Now, take a look at this in this Air India flight. I've got up over here, 5 p.m. departure, 25,161 rupees. An Air India flight tomorrow, 2200 hours, 10 p.m., 25,161 rupees. An Air India flight at 10:30 tomorrow, same price, 25,001. So the point that we are trying to make, Vedika and Padmaja with us in the studio as well, is that this is a ridiculous situation. What other airlines are essentially doing is extortion. Now, this is the disadvantage of free market economics in a sense, in as much as we want a free market system in civil aviation. The best must survive. Those who can't match it, they are in trouble. But then 25,000 bucks. So think of this, a young student, a 19 or 20-year-old student stranded in Delhi because their IndiGo flight got cancelled, wants to go back to IndiGo. Where is she or he going to find 25,000 bucks for a one-way ticket?
And if you are one of those stranded passengers, you can call in now. We have the numbers flashing on our screens. We want to hear about your plight. And before we go back to Padmaja for more, we're going to take you through some... All right. I believe Mr. Srinath is calling us. Mr. Sriraj is calling us. Mr. Sriraj, go ahead. Where are you? Can you tell us more about the plight at the place you're at? A lot of IndiGo flights have been cancelled.
Yeah, thanks for patching up. My name is Sriraj. I'm from Hyderabad. It's actually the experience that my wife had this morning, since this morning from 6:30. And it was only at 12 o'clock she was told. She was not even told whether the flight is going to operate or not. This is IndiGo Airlines for you. You see, these problems do occur. These are all technical issues. There are two basic things that the government has failed to do. The Ministry of Civil Aviation, we have a very unexperienced minister there. Okay, one. And is this the time to change the rules when the season is at its peak? And what image does it create within the country and internationally? This is the worst time one can ever implement a change in the aviation industry. This has got nothing to do with politics. This has got everything to do with common sense. And two, on IndiGo, the reason why there is no sympathy for IndiGo is because they have been very rigid in their activity right from day one. They are a good airline, no doubt, but there is no human face there.
No, but
now
sir,
look at Air India. After even having an accident, they still are being supported.
Right.
But
So
IndiGo, the reason why they are being shunned is that is the way they treat people. So both these people should be held accountable. The civil aviation minister must be sacked.
All right, but
thank you.
We're just trying to ask you a question. If I can just pipe in over here, can you describe to us the ordeal that you faced in simple terms?
Yeah, my wife was there at around 6 o'clock for check-in. She had a flight to go to Chennai, and there was no announcement. And you know, the notice board, the electronic display board didn't have any information about that flight. They had to keep asking. There was complete chaos at the airport. Thank God she didn't have book baggage. She had only hand baggage. After 5 hours of no information, no food, nothing, she had to return back in a most frustrated manner.
All right.
In fact, we are also hearing now of people who are completely out of patience. They started sloganeering. There is, and it's terrible because it's the ground staff which really is, you know, the butt of a lot of this anger and resentment that is bubbling over. A quick update. This has also been taken up during 0 hour in the Rajya Sabha. Early in the morning, we had spoken to Sena UBT MP Priyanka Chaturvedi, who in fact gave notice. She demanded a statement from the Civil Aviation Minister inside Parliament on what exactly is happening right now. DGCA has put out a statement. They're saying, look, we're trying to do better, but this is called comfort. Look at the level of chaos. You know, this has become the great leveler in a very, very tragic way. You've got the High Commissioner of Singapore in India tweeting out saying, I joined the tens of thousands of passengers stranded by IndiGo. My flight to Deoghar has been cancelled. My sincere apologies to my young staff waiting for me to attend his shadi. Lost for words. This is what he's tweeting 9:13 in the morning. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. You just left stranded there and there is absolutely no communication, and that is what boggles the mind. Why is there no communication even if there is chaos?
All right, I'm going to take our viewers through some of the big developments, Vishnu and Padmaja, at this point. Chaos and confusion, like we're saying, at airports across India. So far, more than 500 flights have been cancelled by the airlines today. Remember, there were about 550 flights cancelled yesterday alone. And like Vishnu is saying, that's not the final number yet. There is chaos, there is confusion across airports across the country as passengers struggle to gain clarity on their travel plans.
About 10 cancelled from Srinagar, about 30 cancelled from Goa. That's some of the other details that we are getting.
Padmaja, these numbers at this stage, as I was telling Vedika, I'm absolutely certain these numbers are understating what's eventually going to happen by midnight. This is an airline, the largest in the country. Their networking and scheduling has gone for a toss. I'm at this stage confused about how many flights are actually going to end up operating by the end of today.
So I just want to step back.
Just
for everyone who's
cascading.
watching right now, Vishnu, we've got this figure of 500 on our screen. This is a rough figure because
it's
it's having a rollover effect.
Yeah.
How does this get fixed? Because IndiGo, what we were being told by NDTV Profit is, their proposal was till 4 o'clock, let us take everything off and then we're going to fix this. What's the solution for this? What's going to happen now?
They're going to have to cut down, in my opinion, on the overall number of flights that they offer. And that has to do with the fact that they don't have enough pilots for the planes that they operate. They are presently 935 commanders short and 205 first officers short as per the new government rules which have been allowed. Now, the DGCA, the regulator, did give them a sanction yesterday and said that, look, okay, sometime in 10th of February, we'll ease back or roll back some of the new safety guidelines to ensure that you can carry on with your flights, get your network back in order. But we are seeing a cascading impact. For example, Padmaja, all of these flights which have already been cancelled over the last several days, for those passengers who want to be rebooked into the future or in the future, how exactly do they make these bookings?
So just a second, this picture that you're seeing right now, the Civil Aviation Minister's review meeting, to the best of my knowledge, this is the one that was held yesterday. Since today morning, since all of these cancellations have hit commuters, have hit passengers at the airport, there is no fresh information of any review meeting being held today. Yesterday, we had last heard from the Civil Aviation Minister around close to 10 o'clock at night that he has instructed IndiGo to get things on track. As of today, okay, there we've got the High Commissioner of Singapore, his tweet from early this morning. As of today, Vishnu, what stops IndiGo from simply sending a message to all passengers booked today saying, for today, your flights are gone?
No, so they've done that. But the thing is, I think the situation is now out of control. My mum was on a flight today was booked on a flight today from Calcutta to Delhi. So she got a message this morning saying that her flight had been cancelled. So they have been proactively telling passengers where possible. But I think the real crisis is that they intended to operate a certain number of flights as well. And the big question mark now is whether the flights which they intended to operate, they are actually able to operate at all.
Okay.
Now, I think that's where a lot of these passengers who are calling in are facing a crisis.
John from Delhi is with us on the phone line. John, where were you set to go and what happened?
Oh, actually on 3rd, 2 days ago, I traveled from Shillong at 5, left Shillong at 5 and reached Chandigarh at 9:30. We were delayed in Guwahati for 2 hours and then in Delhi airport for 5 hours, only to reach Chandigarh, where our luggage was not delivered. And yesterday I was supposed to take, today I'm supposed to take a flight, and thank goodness I made a good decision to hit it on the road from Chandigarh to Delhi to hopefully catch a flight tomorrow. And my colleagues from Chandigarh, from Nagaland, from Bihar, and a couple of them, they woke up from the hotel at 2 in the morning to go to the airport at 4 to do the check-in and everything, only to reach there and to be told the flight is cancelled. Now they missed their connecting flight from Delhi to, going back. And it's a horrendous, I don't know, why is this
No, but John, just did your friends not have an SMS from the airline or a WhatsApp or a call?
No message at all. In fact, they were getting, it's a normal message. So even I'm travel, so, and then I cancelled my flight. So with all this chaos, so I don't know whether we'll be reimbursed because we bought it through Make My Trip, right?
Yeah.
And so an 8,000 fare, we are refunded only $1,000.
Oh, wow.
So anyway.
That's a very important point that you've raised. The very least that IndiGo can do at this point is give a full refund. Immediately, people who are waiting for their luggage should be returned their luggage. Perhaps some kind of reparations made if they can be sent back to their homes, or if some connecting flights, some alternatives can be provided there. Because people can't just be left in the lurch in this fashion. And naturally, there is anger. John, I'm really sorry for what you had to go through. I'm hoping that you're able to get back, if not today, as soon as possible, back home. Tanushka spoke to people. She was there at the airport in Delhi when people simply ran out of patience. Here's what happened.
Currently present inside the Delhi Airport Terminal 1 here, and this is the sort of commotion that is ensuing because of the cancellations of IndiGo flights. Remember that IndiGo is seeing cancellations until midnight today at the Delhi Airport. This is a swarm of people present here at the check-in desk asking and repeatedly questioning the IndiGo staff members If we go out for the luggage again, we should not come inside. Definitely, let us get talking to some passengers here who are also delayed with respect to their flights and cancellations. Hi sir, hello. Tell us your name and where were you traveling to, and the fact that your flight is now cancelled.
My name is Ravi Gwalani. I am a chartered accountant by profession. She is my wife. She is a doctor by profession, Umar Ora Gwalani. We were traveling to Raipur by 11:55 flight, IndiGo. And when I came, then I came to know that, when I came to airport, then I came to know that my flight is cancelled. So I requested that whether it can be rescheduled. They said yes, it can be rescheduled to 3:40 flight. When I went to the counter, and they said, this rescheduled flight is again cancelled. So I asked them, if the flight was cancelled, then why you gave me this again rescheduled one, the cancelled flight? Nobody is answering. No Ministry of Civil Aviation person is here. No airport authority.
What has IndiGo been telling you?
Nothing. Just they're saying that we will give you a rescheduled flight. We are not sure whether it will run or not. No proper answer, no authentic answer. Even I do not know who is the manager. Who I may go and ask him whether you are responsible. Tell us exact situation. I want to know exact problem.
You also tell us now, with respect to your accounts, how long have you been stranded here and what next?
Since morning we are standing here. We know there is no other option. We have to find an alternative, how to go, how to proceed. They will not take any authority, any in charge of accountability of what they are doing. They really don't know how. The people who are there, they are not authorized for it. They just are. They don't know even.
So now that IndiGo,
there should be someone authorized to tell people exactly what the scenario is and what we should do.
Now that IndiGo said that no flights will fly out of Delhi airport until midnight, what is the plan of action for you next?
No other option right now. But we pray
Train. Exactly. So this is how we're, kind of going back to basics at this point. Instead of flying out, people are now looking to book train tickets because of the entire massive meltdown of the skies that IndiGo has been having across airports in the country.
Harrowing experiences. You're stranded, you're strained, and you have no answers from IndiGo. Reet is joining us from the newsroom because, like Vishnu pointed out, there's complete extortion happening. You open any of these travel websites and you see that the fares have been jacked up manifold. Reet, over to you.
Right, absolutely, Vedika. You rightly mentioned that there is some sort of extortion happening. Imagine you can also feel the weight of course, the grounded planes, the grounded flights on your pocket. And I'm just going to show you right now the kind of visuals or the kind of, data that we have here. It's important to understand that, as, my colleague was also mentioning about how passengers are looking to book from different websites for different airlines and even for different mediums like, train and other, of course, routes. Important to understand that if you are traveling from New Delhi to Bangalore, imagine this is the cost of the flight. It could cost you as much as 40,000, and this is for today. Remember that in this price, one can even have a round trip from back and forth from, of course, Delhi to Bangalore. So imagine 40,000 you have to pay for one way, and this is the cheapest flight that we're getting on the website. Apart from this, if you are traveling the same route tomorrow, it's costing you about 37,000. This is, of course, a staggering amount given the fact that, usually it takes this much to, go to and fro from such a place. So, of course, you can see that, this is the price. And apart from this, I'm also going to show you other locations. You can see that, of course, if you're traveling from New Delhi to Chennai, it's going to cost you as much as 69,160, which is, of course, right, absolutely, which is, of course, way more than, the usual price that it would cost you, 69,000. Imagine. And apart from this, you look at tomorrow as well. If you're looking for flights for tomorrow, you can also see that, the same price would cost you about 65,000. Remember, I'm talking to New Delhi to Chennai, and on this flight, in this specific flight, it has 2 stops. So imagine, despite 2 stops, it's going to cost you about 65,000, my apologies, close to, imagine, 66,000. If you look at other routes as well, you can see that, of course, from Mumbai to New Delhi, it's costing you about 35,000, which again is something that is a big weight on anybody's pockets, especially those who are already in distress and are trying to figure out different mediums. Remember that they've already paid IndiGo. They wait for their bags on the airport. So there's complete distress and chaos for the passengers at the moment. I'm also going to take you through different routes. If you're traveling from Mumbai to Srinagar, it could cost you as much as 62,000 if you're traveling today. Remember, like I mentioned, that this is the cheapest flight, and this is also a flight which has 1 stop in New Delhi. So this is not even a direct flight, and it's costing you, it's costing you a whopping 62,000 rupees. Even if you try tomorrow, it's going to cost you about 44 to 45,000 rupees. Remember, that is a staggering amount. And, it is through this amount, you could, in fact, on a normal day, you could make 2-3 trips back and forth without it costing you this much. And imagine, this is the cost. If you look at other places as well, I've also just drawn out other countries for just comparison's sake. And if you look at other countries, imagine you could travel from New Delhi to Singapore in 20,000. Imagine the difference, because here is some place in India that's costing you about 60,000 rupees one way, and on the other you could travel from, of course, about even half the amount to a place abroad. Similar is, of course, with Thailand as well. You could travel to about Thailand is in some place in Thailand for about 9,000, 10,000 in about if you're going to Bangkok.
All right, I'm just going to come back to Reet in half a second from now. There's a Director General of Civil Aviation notification that's just come in now. Withdrawal of instructions regarding published weekly rest. Now, this is one of the criteria among many that the DGCA actually had, whereas reference is invited to the above-mentioned letter, specifically a paragraph stipulating that no leave shall be substituted for weekly rest, and whereas in view of the ongoing operational disruptions and representations received from various airlines regarding continuity of operations, it's been considered necessary to review the said provision. Now, therefore, the instruction contained in the reference paragraph that no leave shall be substituted for weekly rest is hereby withdrawn from immediate effect. This is one part of the order. I just want our viewers to understand that there is one clause which has been withdrawn, not all of the clauses which exist as part of the new rules. But with the withdrawal of this one clause, the government is trying to ensure that stability in the flight system gets back. So it's not a full withdrawal of the pilot order, it's a partial withdrawal of the government order on flight duty time limitations. That was done for safety grounds. Once again, for the benefit of our viewers, this is a move meant to bring relief to scores of passengers and the airlines across the country how soon will it take impact in terms of the network of IndiGo getting fixed? That's something we don't have an answer on at the moment.
So explain this, Vishnu. How is this going to ease the backlog that we are seeing right now when they say that no leave shall be substituted for weekly rest? Because that seems to be the operative part of today's order. How is this going to ease the situation, practically speaking?
I don't understand exactly what those words mean, but what I'm trying to essentially state that through the withdrawal of one order or one part of the order, they will have more pilots available to them.
So basically, the amount of resting hours will be slightly reduced. I mean, I don't know what the leave and weekly off concept is, but essentially you will have more pilots to roster. You will have more hands on the deck, as it were.
One of the aspects which will ultimately govern the availability of pilots has been adjusted in a way in which there can be more pilots who are possibly available right now. In terms of the new rules, there were 48 consecutive hours of leave which have been granted to pilots as opposed to 36 hours earlier on. Those 48 consecutive hours means that a pilot gets 2 consecutive days off. They can get a day off on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever it is. That was something that impacted the number of pilots who were available for flights. The flight duty maximum period was brought down from 13 hours to 10 hours. So in other words, airlines have rostered a certain number of hours, certain number of flights, but they didn't have enough pilots because pilots are now working per the new rules for fewer hours. Most significantly, perhaps maximum night landings. They could do 6 landings every single night per the older rules. The newer rules have brought that down to 2. And so as a result of all of this, if you've got an airline which operates on a certain number of pilots and on a certain number of routes, all of a sudden, because of the new rules, right, and the rules are good rules. I want to be clear that our viewers don't misunderstand me. The rules are important, therefore your flight safety. But as a result of the new rules, right, the airline just didn't have enough pilots to operate. How many pilots were they short of? 935 commanders for IndiGo and 205 first officers. Remember, it's a 2-man crew, so they were massively short on the number of pilots that could actually operate these aircraft if they were to comply with the new norms. So one of those norms.
So essentially what Tanushka here is explaining is that there was a rule which did not allow the airlines to club leaves with the weekly rest. The 48 hours weekly rest that Vishnu was talking about. The earlier instruction said if somebody has applied for leave, you cannot say, okay, your leave is also a part of this weekly rest. So now that has been done away with. If somebody is on leave, you can say, this is your weekly rest. You've taken your 48 hours. You please come back on duty. So at least you will have more people, more pilots, which you will be able to roster.
So for example, if I have a Saturday, Sunday off, and in our system, if I apply for leave on Monday onwards, then my leave actually begins on Saturday and
so
it
now
extends.
I can actually say that Saturday, Sunday
is your day off,
your weekly off.
Is your day off, right?
And it's also your leave.
And it's also your leave.
It's also your leave. So suppose you already had 2 weekly offs, and you wanted 2 days of leave. Now the airline can say, this is your leave, your weekly off. So somebody who's done rosters, this whole leave assigning process is very important. But on a serious note, hopefully this should mitigate, but is this enough? That remains the crucial question for a crisis of this magnitude.
Padmaja, which is the backlog. All these people stranded at all these airports, what happens with them? And how long will this take for IndiGo really to put into action is the other question as well.
And at this point, what people need is a calming hand. They need somebody, more people there who are at the counter, who don't just shut the door in your face and tell you, we'll see when we see. You need more voices. Deepak Bopanna is still live with us. I imagine right now it's too early to really see any kind of effect of this order, Deepak. But has the news reached the people? Is there any kind of communication that has improved, any improvement in communication when people go to the check-in counter, when people reach the airport? What is the kind of response that they are getting from there? Is there somebody to explain to them what is happening, that they should go back? Are there such people whose luggage has already been checked in and they're simply just waiting at the terminal wondering when they'll get their luggage back?
Well, all of the concerns that you just mentioned, I've heard most of them express all of it. And as you see behind me, cancel, 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 cancel. It's all red. And for the people, that's what they're getting to see on the big screen as they come here. There are dozens and dozens of people who are coming by the minute. And the problems are the same and nothing has really changed on the ground. Let me get in a word from a few of them who've been waiting. Tell me, madam, where are you trying to fly to? What are the concerns you've been facing?
My flight is still to Delhi, but suddenly I got the message that it is cancelled.
Okay.
When I was on way to the airport.
Until then, nobody told you anything?
Nobody. I didn't get the information regarding this.
You know, Padmaja, very interesting. Just a little while ago, I spoke to a few people who told me that this could be a deliberate attempt by IndiGo because they are not able to follow these rules. And, having these sort of queues at the airport would indirectly pressurize the government to, change certain rules, tweak them so that IndiGo doesn't have to abide by all of them. And this is not something that I am saying. This was something some of the passengers, in fact, expressed concerns over. Let me speak to a few more of them. Tell me, how difficult has it been for you? How long have you been waiting?
It's been like 2 to 3 hours.
Where are you trying to fly to? What are the problems?
I'm planning to fly to Mumbai and I have a connecting flight as well from Mumbai. So they've only cancelled from Bangalore to Mumbai. So there's no status on the other flights. It still shows as confirmed, but I don't know what the refund status. Yeah. So don't know how the refunds and there's no communication from the airline as well. So a lot of people are facing issues and
the queues, of course, are only getting longer. Madam, you have a lot of luggage. Where are you planning to fly to? And how difficult has it been? It's cancelled for you. So what do you plan to do next?
Now, my husband is standing in the line because once it's cancelled, what about the return refund?
Yeah.
I'm flying back the day after. So they have not given me any confirmation or a message saying that they would refund that amount. So until we get that confirmation, we are not going to go from here. Yeah. And it's been terrible. We planned a holiday to Tripura and it's all cancelled now.
And I can see a lot of luggage.
Yeah.
I'm sure struggling to cope up with
that
as well.
Yeah, obviously. So this is the first time, and IndiGo shouldn't have done this to their pilots if this is the issue. Yeah. If pilots are being overworked, then it's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't just work on your bottom line and not care about your staff.
And if these orders, were supposed to be followed and they knew the deadline, do you feel that it was a fault of IndiGo to not really adhere to this?
Yes, 100%. If these were I think these policies were done in 2024. So we are in the end of 2025, 2 years, high time. Bottom lines are not important. Your staff is important.
Absolutely.
They have, I think, the major market share.
Yeah. So that's what citizens feel when they charge them huge amounts of money. This is a service that they expect to be flawless, but here they are expressing concerns if pilots are being overworked, and then if rules were framed long ago, then why are people having to face these problems now? It's not as if these rules were brought in yesterday and today they had to be followed all of a sudden. They had ample time. If they had to hire new staff, if they had to hire new pilots, whatever needed to be done should have been done. Or probably flights had to be probably not available itself for booking, but after being made available, after paying huge amounts of money, then not getting clarity, then cancellations, delays, and then people having to wait like this in huge lines is of course a huge problem, and the people are suffering. There are people from different walks of life, people facing different predicaments. We of course seen that story from Hubli, where a couple had to even attend their own reception online. So you can see the myriad of problems that people are facing.
Traveling with her father's ashes, she had to go for Asthi Visarjan. She had to go immerse her late father's ashes, and there she is stuck at the airport. Ashish Pandey, also live with us, Vedika, from Hyderabad.
Ashish, tell us what's going on behind you. There has been, like we've just heard, that the aviation regulators eased some pilot duty rules, not all, very important to be noted. Like Padmaja asked Deepak, has there been any communication on the ground? If not,
sorry to interrupt you. I think we've got a terrible report of a mother with an infant, which I think we quickly play out for our viewers. Coming to you, Ashish. Thank you for your patience. Coming to you in just a minute after this.
So we're still at the Delhi airport, wherein a lot of these passengers, there are passengers here from all, these positions at this point. The lady here just beside me is with an infant right now, ma'am. आपकी flight कब से cancel है? अभी यहाँ पे कब से?
2 दिन से cancel है.
2 दिनों से
कैंसिल है
और 2 दिन से
आज भी कैंसिल है।
आज का फ्लाइट दिया, कल इधर से दिल्ली से कलकत्ता, दिल्ली से हैदराबाद तक, हैदराबाद से जो कलकत्ता तक, कलकत्ता का हैदराबाद से जो कलकत्ता तक फ्लाइट था उसको कैंसिल कर दिया।
तो अब 2 दिन से इंडिगो के टिकट आ रहे हैं। हाँ, विद योर बेबी।
हम लोग इधर से हैदराबाद जाकर क्या करेंगे?
Really troubling. Really troubling.
And
और ये लोग कुछ सुन भी
what
नहीं
have
रहा।
IndiGo been telling you?
We are extending. We are giving tomorrow another flight. Delaying after 4 hours, after 24 hours, and now they are telling again for after 2 days with 2 babies. It's impossible to arrange.
मैम बॉम्बे की फ्लाइट ओपन की है क्या? बॉम्बे के लिए
आपको जाना किधर है अभी? कोलकाता। एंड कोलकाता की एक भी फ्लाइट आपको इंडिगो से तो नहीं मिल रही है। एंड व्हाट अबाउट अदर एयरलाइंस? आपने बाकी एयरलाइंस देखे?
Charges are very high, 40,000, 50,000. And we are 4-5 members. It's impossible to
accommodate. Yeah, exactly. So clearly here, you know, the struggles of the middle class society here at Delhi airport, wherein IndiGo is of course not an option right now, but what about other airlines? Other airlines fares are skyrocketing. Just as we were talking to this woman here, she is with an infant and her 4-year-old as well. So 2 children here, the account of a mother who's dealing her 2 children at the airport since the past 2 days with no recourse, no dispute, no respite. Let us also speak to more people here. Sir, आप कब से यहाँ पर वेट कर रहे हो?
मैं कल जोधपुर से दिल्ली के फ्लाइट में आया, कल दोपहर से यहाँ वेट कर रहा हूँ। मेरा ऑनवर्ड जर्नी है चेन्नई से कोयम्बतूर। अभी तक मेरा बैगेज का कोई पता नहीं है। आई एम रनिंग a high temperature on this winter cold. My wife fractured her leg. We don't have even a small jacket. और हमको ये बोल दिया कि आपका फ्लाइट रीशेड्यूल कर दिया है, आप जाओ करके। हमको इन लोगों ने एक होटल का नंबर दिया। होटल जाने से होटल वाले ने हमको कुत्तों के जैसे बाहर निकाल के भेज दिया कि यहाँ पे कोई रूम अवेलेबल नहीं है। रात को 12-1 बजे के ठंड में हम रोड पे सो रहे थे। आज सवेरे टैक्सी भर के हमारे खुद से पैसे से आज सवेरे की फ़्लाइट आए। सवेरे की फ़्लाइट वापस बोल रहे हैं कि कैंसिल है। अब पूछ रहे हैं हमारा लगेज कहाँ है, ये लोग बोल रहे हैं हमको मालूम नहीं है। There is no higher authorities to even come and give us a solution for this. There are thousands of passengers, young kids, people who are going for sports academy and higher studies. They are all on standards. Unless and otherwise, government and airport authority comes and gives a solution, these people will take everybody for a big jolly ride.
All right, big news coming in right now. Union Home Minister Amit Shah has spoken to the Civil Aviation Minister even as this crisis is festering. Some mitigating action has been taken by the government through the DGCA. Aviation watchdog stepping in, and DGCA has withdrawn a part of the pilot rest order, with the Home Minister also now stepping in and speaking to the Civil Aviation Minister. But for now, things will take some time to ease out, because the real crisis is not what's happening at the back end. It is what to do with the people who have no clarity, no communication. They are worried about where they are going to go next, and that really remains the real problem at present. The bottleneck is about people simply not knowing what to do next.
You know, I think the government also is really firefighting at this juncture, because irrespective of the number of steps that they are taking, and they've started taking these steps to withdraw or to postpone or to hold in abeyance some of the new safety regulations till the 10th of February, despite the steps being taken, this system is in free fall, right? Let's accept that. Now, what happened last night is that they announced that many of the steps that they had announced for flight duty time limitation rules, the rest hours, the number of flights that you could operate at night, etc., they were going to, on the request of IndiGo, hold those in abeyance till the 10th of February. Now they've come out with one more order on leave and rest hours, right? Holding that particular thing in abeyance. In other words, giving the airline more of an opportunity to work with the number of pilots who they actually have. This is a crisis because these airlines do not have, IndiGo particularly, does not have the number of pilots it requires to meet the new guidelines. So they brought back these guidelines. One new guideline has been brought back today. But Padmaja and Vedika, the point is, by the time this eases the pressure on the airline, we don't know how long. As of today, networking and scheduling across India's largest airline is in complete free fall.
No, I'm just going to say it bluntly. what is stopping IndiGo from putting all its people out there on the airports? They should be there at the counter saying, look, there is a problem. We're going to help you out. The least they could do, and I think that is the real issue we're facing at present, Vedika, where people come up against a wall. They have got no intimation. Akhilesh Sharma is joining us live on this story now. Akhilesh, the Home Minister has stepped in. He's spoken to the Civil Aviation Minister. What are the next steps discussed, the immediate steps?
Well, the government has taken a very serious view of this entire crisis created by IndiGo. The government sources are telling us that in June, this notification was issued and the IndiGo was given 6 months' time to set its house in order. But despite that, they started recruiting only a few days back. So that actually raises serious questions. And the government has intervened. We have been told by the sources that Home Minister Amit Shah has intervened in this matter. Civil Aviation Minister Mr. Naidu has spoken to Mr. Amit Shah, and after that, this decision was taken that this order was kept in abeyance. And there's also a suggestion by a few MPs who have actually raised this issue in Parliament that some sort of penalty should be imposed on IndiGo so that such mistakes are not repeated in the future. At least 10% of the aircraft should be grounded so that, some messages sent to the airline for this kind of violation, because this has created chaos and ruckus in the entire country. So the government is very serious on this issue, and there's demand by the MPs that some sort of action should be taken by the government against IndiGo Airlines also.
That's a very, very significant point that Akhilesh Sharma is telling us about, the fact that the top leadership of the government had to intervene. That's when the DGCA order came on the pilot rest rules, which, by the way, IndiGo had plenty of time to implement, but they simply did no planning, and it has led to this kind of effect.
So am I wrong in saying that IndiGo hasn't blinked first in this case?
Yeah, they haven't. I mean, basically they said, fine, you have told us to implement the rules, we are not going to do it. And when things get really bad, ultimately it will be the government who has to take a step back. And that's what has happened, Akhilesh. In that sense, like you mentioned, they had all this time since the middle of this year up till we're in December now. And they just sat on their hands.
That's correct. In fact, if you go through the timeline, it says very clearly that enough time, the sufficient time was given to the airline to take the necessary steps which are required as per the DGCA directions, and the airline had enough, plenty of time, but they did not act. This is what many MPs have raised at this point. Many MPs have actually complained to the civil aviation ministers because they have been getting reports and complaints from their different constituencies that people are suffering because of the cancellation of IndiGo flights. And after that, they were told that enough time was given to IndiGo. This notification was issued in June, and now we are in December, so 6 months have passed. But since then, IndiGo has not done any action. It has not taken any action to abide by this notification, and that's what has led to this crisis. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a suggestion that some sort of stern action should be taken against IndiGo so that it does not repeat such kind of mistakes in the future.
Akhilesh, thanks for joining us live there with that big breaking news coming in. The Home Minister also stepping in to make sure that there is some process in place now when it comes to IndiGo. We also have Ashish, who's been standing by very patiently, joining us live from Hyderabad. Ashish, has this news reached the passengers who've been waiting for hours, some of them 12 hours, for some information to come in, be it from IndiGo or the DGCA in this case?
In fact, Vedika, if we talk about RGI, Rajiv Gandhi International Airport of Hyderabad, is one of the busiest airport of the country, and you can see behind me, there is no queue, in fact, at the entry point of this particular airport. There are passengers, they are just looking at this information board, trying to find out about their flight status. We will try to speak few passengers. Sir, tell me about your flight and any information, any message you have received.
So my flight is at 4:50. I have no information whether it's flying today or whether it's not flying today. I'm trying to find the information online. I don't see that as well. The queue at the counters are so long that I may have to wait just 2 hours even to just get information about the flight.
And you are flying to which place, sir?
I'm flying to Bangalore.
You are flying to Bangalore. You have a flight at around 4?
That's correct. 4:50 is my flight.
And you haven't received any information?
I have not got any update as of now.
This is one passenger. We will try to speak to another one. Sir, आप कहाँ जा रहे हैं और आपके फ्लाइट का क्या कोई information है?
I'm traveling to Patna. I received actually in the night the message that I can start the boarding. And in the morning I again received the message for the boarding. And in between they send one message, flight is cancelled. And again after that, again I receive the message, then you can start your boarding. We are waiting for your online boarding. So in between the message they send in the morning, but it is just stuck up in the other messages, because I was also receiving the message for the web checking. So I missed the this message that flight has been cancelled, and I am at airport and suddenly I came to know flight is cancelled.
And you have received any kind of other information about your refund or any other status?
In the same message they have written that in next 3 to 5 days you will get your full amount refund in your account. But
so you was expecting some kind of telephonic communication to you so that you could have planned better?
Yes. At least in earlier I could have received the one telephonic conversation or continuous some kind of the mail or the message that the flight has been cancelled. So we could not have come to the airport, and now all the flights are cancelled. If we are going to book in another airline, then the cost is almost 5 times, 7 times is higher than our actual cost.
So clearly, like this passenger has mentioned, that flight cost also has increased. Some time back, in fact, I was checking, and in fact, few other passengers who were flying to either Delhi or Mumbai, they tried booking in some other airlines, and the flight cost from Hyderabad to Mumbai, which is almost over 1.5 hours flight, it is costing between 18,000 to 30,000. And from Delhi, which is almost 2 hours long flight from Hyderabad, it is costing somewhere around 25 to 40 or in fact 50,000. So this is the long queue outside the IndiGo counters. All these passengers are trying to find out the status about their flight. Largely their flights are either cancelled or rescheduled, and they are waiting for a refund. Sir, आपका flight का क्या status? What's the status of your flight?
ऑनलाइन तो अभी फ्लाइट ड्यू टाइम दिखा रहा है, बट गेट पे बोल रहा है कैंसिल हो गया.
अभी आपका कोई मैसेज वगैरह कुछ भी आया?
नहीं, मैसेज वगैरह कुछ भी नहीं आया.
कहाँ जा रहे हैं? कहाँ की फ्लाइट?
आगरतला की.
कितने बजे की फ्लाइट थी?
फ्लाइट 2 बजे की, 2:10
की फ्लाइट थी. सर, आपकी फ्लाइट का क्या स्टेटस है सर? Where you are flying?
I'm flying to Qatar. Actually, my no status, only status showing 3 hours delay, but no cancellation.
You are trying to find out more information.
Yes, exactly. This is very poor
cut back to give our viewers the big news coming in at this moment. You've got a statement, Vishnu, from IndiGo.
Yeah, and if IndiGo got some of their information out in a better way, it would have been more accurate. They are now saying, we confirm that all IndiGo domestic flights departing from Delhi airport on the 5th of December stand cancelled till 11:59 p.m. We broke this news several hours back. I spoke to sources within IndiGo, and I was told that information is inaccurate. They have now brought out a press release.
They disputed it, and then they've confirmed it.
They disputed it because, unlike others, we check, right? So I checked with them. They said no. Now they have said that no, sorry, you're right. So we confirm that all IndiGo domestic flights departing from Delhi airport on the 5th of December stand cancelled till 11:59 p.m. We express our profound apologies to all our valued customers and stakeholders who've been significantly impacted by these unforeseen events. To support our affected customers, we are offering them refreshments. Next available flight options as per their preference. Hotel accommodation, actually the hotel accommodation is significant. Assistance in retrieving their luggage and full refunds as applicable. All passengers who are scheduled to fly from Delhi today are requested to get in touch with our ground staff at Delhi airport for guidance regarding luggage collection. This is insane. These are passengers standing for hours. Their luggage is still stuck inside.
And passengers are saying, Vishnu, very significant, but passengers are apparently saying that this is not true. They haven't received hotel accommodation, no refreshments are being served.
Good luck finding the people. I mean, it's a maze in there.
Who's going to disburse this stuff?
The thousands of people standing there, where are you going to find some lowly, one IndiGo agent with a placard in their hand saying that...
away, and which is why you've got slogans of IndiGo Murdabad, IndiGo Hi happening at the airports. Because when you say all passengers who were scheduled to fly from Delhi today are requested to get in touch, well, that's exactly what they have been trying to do since 6 in the morning. Look at these people. They are there. You've only got the airport security. You've got the central forces over there. Where is the IndiGo staff?
Yeah.
And in a sense, you can't blame them, because the IndiGo staff, 2-3 of them would be there at the boarding gate. They've just walked away. Because they can't be handling, especially when they don't know what to do next.
Or what to say next.
Exactly. Do they have the authority to tell people, yes, we'll give you hotel accommodation?
Exactly.
No, they don't. And they are getting no communication.
Also very important to note, as we see these tempers fly, that the persons at those counters are probably trained to handle maybe 5 or 6 irate passengers. If you've got 500 standing on your head and yelling at you for clarity and
safety
information, it becomes a safety issue, it becomes a security issue, it becomes like a personal security issue for many of these people and the passengers. Before we proceed with our coverage, guys, I've come from upstairs. I just want to tell all of our viewers and to share with you guys here in the studio as well that I've been getting calls from people. We've had visitors here at the NDTV studio that there's a lot of misinformation flying around, but everybody is watching NDTV because we've been putting out, courtesy Vishnu and his team and all of us here, accurate information. We've been taking the pains to verify information because it literally means the difference between somebody getting into a car and going to the airport or not. So I want to tell all of our viewers, we will not be backing down on that. There may be a few minutes of delay in us flashing certain piece of information, but I can guarantee you here on NDTV, you will get accurate information because that is literally the difference between making the correct decision or not today.
Okay, more breaking news coming in over here. There's an appeal from the Director General of Civil Aviation, from the DGCA himself, which it's a signed appeal, right? This is a request for cooperation from all pilot associations and pilots amidst the ongoing travel disruptions. This is India's aviation regulator pleading, in a sense, with pilots, telling them to ensure that they deal with this situation. In light of the current disruptions in IndiGo, where several flights across the country have been impacted because of operational constraints, unpredictable weather, etc., etc., these disruptions have led to delays, passenger inconvenience. As we now approach the fog season, that's another headache.
Yes.
The peak holiday period and the marriage travel season, it is crucial that the industry prepares for even greater operational challenges. This is the regulator warning pilots and everybody, get ready for greater operational challenges. Passenger volumes are expected to rise sharply. Weather-related impacts may further complicate scheduling. Given this situation, we earnestly request the full cooperation of all pilot bodies, associations and pilots. Number one, maintain stable and smooth flight operations. Reduce avoidable delays and cancellations. Ensure passengers are not inconvenienced. Strengthened coordination between pilots and airlines. This appeal is being made with a deep respect for the essential role that pilots and pilot organizations play in India's aviation ecosystem. We trust in your sense of duty, professionalism and commitment to public service during these challenging periods.
This is like a please cooperate. This is like asking your people, please cooperate.
This is the regulator of aviation in among the largest aviation markets in the world, telling pilots and pilot bodies who are very active, as we know. I mean, they raise a lot of complaints and concerns. Many of them are very valid. But telling them right now, please, we have a rail crisis now. Please work with the system, work with your airlines, which are going to face even tougher situations going forward in the marriage season, in the fog season, and just ensure that it all comes into place. But I would just say, Shiv, that who knows when it's going to fall back into place.
Should we, Vishnu, should we be trying to speak to someone like a Captain Sam Thomas or from one of the pilots?
Yeah, let's get Captain Sam Thomas up, please, as soon as possible.
Yeah, let's get Captain
in light
Sam
of what the
Thomas.
DGCA has said.
We're going to ask our producers to convey that so we can get Captain Sam Thomas plugged into this, because the DGCA notice that we just read out, guys, has been addressed to Sam Thomas and the others who control a handful of pilot associations in the country. This is actually historic. Vishnu, you've been covering civil aviation a really long time. I don't know if this kind of
appeal,
practically a pleading, beseeching appeal, has gone out to pilots saying, think of passengers.
This is possibly in response to an earlier Airline Pilots Association raising objection to the selective, and I quote, selective and unsafe dispensation granted to IndiGo on FDTL CAR implementation. This letter, which was sent in the afternoon around 1 p.m. says, this decision, taken despite repeated representations, formal letters and direct discussions with your esteemed office, has undermined the very spirit of the regulations and gravely compromised the safety of the flying public.
So can I explain what this means?
Yeah.
This is absolutely critical. What this basically means is that IndiGo was given 2 years to get their act together, hire enough pilots. Obviously, they need to be trained for safe operations to ensure that the new rules, which were notified a long time back, could be followed. IndiGo didn't do that. This landed up in the High Court. As a result of that, this was pushed back further, right? The old norms persisted. However, at a certain stage, IndiGo, perhaps others, felt that no, this will get pushed back further, theek ho jayega, don't worry about it, just carry on going as you are going. Hello, that's not happened. The rules have come into place and the airline is non-compliant. They are, how many pilots short? When you're doing the math on this, they are 935 commanders short, 205 first officers short. This is DGCA statistics to meet the requirements. Yesterday they went and listed. In the press release, the DGCA said, IndiGo has said, please roll this back. The new norms till the 10th of February. Today, 1 hour back or less than that, the regulator has said that, no, 1 second, we will roll back one item. But is that one item enough to fix this problem? I would suggest it's not.
And even there, the pilots are protesting and saying, well, you are...
this is not a pilot protest to me, Padmaja. This is a flight safety issue.
No, but that's what the DGCA is saying, that please...
We are saying about the safety of passengers, about passenger convenience. And that's so important. So many are impacted. But this is an issue of flight safety.
And we're going to come back to that in a moment.
How can an airline decide they won't follow the rules?
But this is, of course, the top focus here on NDTV. Back in a few minutes.
सैल्यूट है जी, आप देश की रक्षा में जान लगा देते हैं और आप घर घर में तार लगाते हैं जी। ई बीम टेक्नोलॉजी से बनी, न जले न पिघले, सबकी रक्षा करे।
हम सरहद पर लोगों की रक्षा करते हैं और आप देश के अंदर। सैल्यूट तो बनता है जी।
अपार अणुशक्ति फायर प्रोटेक्ट वायर, अपार देश का तार।
Front lines of Kargil, the fury of Operation Sindhu,
so many attacks,
the chaos and cries of disaster zones, to fighter jet cockpits, and the world's most defining interviews.
It's incredible.
He has seen history break, live, unfiltered. 20,000 hours of live broadcasting.
Welcome to Left, Right and Centre.
Hard facts.
War-struck country.
Hard questions.
In the Ukraine.
30 years of trust.
In the Kargil area. North Ukraine. In France, in Italy. At Srinagar. Vishnu Shom for NDTV.
Vishnu Shom. Only on NDTV.
The best app to use is the NDTV app.
दुनिया भर में जब भी भारतीय मीडिया की चर्चा होती है तो एनडीटीवी सबसे पहले जिक्र में आता है।
मैं आपका बात से सहमत हूं, उल्टे हम भी जब विदेश जाते हैं, the best app to use is the NDTV app.
Namaste India. As you all know, I've been traveling around the world with my music. But this one is truly special. Something that's India. You all must have seen the magic that was created in Kun Fayakun. Now it's your chance to experience it with me. So book your tickets from District app and together let's create harmony of hearts. See you, Delhi.
What seems settled for me is unfinished business. So I rewind, I pause, I reflect, I dig until what's buried stands up to be counted. Breaking ground, not just headlines, the meaning behind them. This is Breaking Ground with me, Vedika Sood.
21 days in Kashmir. People have bombarded me, friends, with requests for an unfiltered list of things I saw and observed on the ground. Very special ground report from the line of control. There were some children who've lost limbs in the shelling. They're now India's smallest, but possibly the most powerful crime family. Cough syrup has killed at least 25 children. Gaikwad sahab, aise mat kijiye. Suddenly, people are wondering about the weaponization of India-Pakistan cricket. We live and breathe elections. You will not believe your eyes or ears when I show you what I'm about to do.
And for a country
that has fought so many wars in the mountains and at high altitude. We're standing on the Indian Navy's newest warship.
The line of control, Shiv Arun, NDTV.
Across the country.
He has tracked the pulse of power from Washington to Korea. Witnessed history being made in global capitals and conflict zones. Brought clarity to complex issues of national security and international affairs. Aditya Raj Kaul, covering international affairs like no one else. Only on NDTV network.
Two world leaders, one crucial meet. Putin says Namaste India. The bonhomie, the Big Bang deals.
भारत और रूस हमेशा कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर चले.
Strategic shifts and the global impact. NDTV tracks the high-stakes handshake. Modi-Putin summit on NDTV 24/7.
Pulling us into this country. They argue, I conclude. They deflect, I drill down. This isn't a free-for-all. It's a reckoning. No filler, no fog. Only the facts and where they lead. Every night at 9, the case closes because the buck stops here.
I don't sugarcoat. I shoot straight and tell you stories the way they need to be told. Unfiltered, unafraid, unmissable. That's how I roll. Watch me, Priyanka Deo, on NDTV World. Namaste.
I just feel very privileged in the film industry, an industry that I'm extremely proud of.
I'm honored to receive this prestigious award.
I feel overwhelmed that the NDTV has chosen me for this very special award.
Thank you so very much. This means a lot to me.
It's a great honor and a great privilege.
Really blessed to get this, and I'm really happy.
This is one of the few moments
Welcome back. Flights of fury and 100% indignation by IndiGo Airlines. We here at NDTV will be tracking this chaos live. Let's take you through the headlines at the start. IndiGo crisis escalates and leads to massive confusion. Delhi airport claims all IndiGo flights cancelled till midnight tonight. IndiGo disputes the detail. Aviation regulator says as per IndiGo flights are cancelled till 3 p.m. but now there is a statement being issued by the airline. IndiGo crisis triggers big action. Aviation watchdog steps in. DGCA withdraws pilot arrest order. Home Minister Amit Shah speaks to the aviation minister. But there's massive passenger chaos at multiple airports across the country. IndiGo passengers stranded due to last-minute cancellations. Little communication coming in from the airline. Videos show baggages strewn around with no staff to take care of the passengers or their luggage. Prime Minister Modi and Vladimir Putin discuss war and peace. Prime Minister Modi says India is firmly on side of peace. Putin assures a peaceful solution to the Ukraine war. Press statements will be out shortly. And good news for home buyers as your EMIs are set to get cheaper. RBI slashes repo rate by 25 basis points to 5.25%.
Welcome back. The big news that we are breaking to you at this moment. All IndiGo flights from Delhi have been cancelled till midnight today. That is an official statement that has come now from IndiGo. Remember, you heard it first right here on NDTV. But the big story also is about how the DGCA has relaxed the rest rules for pilots that were really at the center of this entire controversy. These rules that were framed well in time IndiGo did not factor them in. And, we're just trying to simplify the root cause of this entire chaos that you've seen building up over the last few days. And things really came to a head, Shiv, Vishnu and Vedika, today when across the country, 500 plus IndiGo flights were cancelled. People were left stranded. There was no communication. There are people there with infants, elderly people, those who are carrying the ashes of their father for immersion. They are at a loss. They do not know what to do. But simplify for our viewers now exactly what happened.
Sure.
When we are piecing these things together, essentially the government, in a sense, has capitulated.
No. So, can I just say, as I answer that question of yours, to me, this is the biggest crisis in Indian civil aviation that we've ever seen. Obviously, when there's a crash, AI 171, that sort of thing, that's a different kind of crisis. This is the biggest crisis within the operation of civil aviation in India, number one. Number two, this is a battle at one level between IndiGo and the government. And by government, I mean the aviation regulator. The aviation regulator is the Director General of Civil Aviation. It is his job to ensure that flight operations in India remain safe. In order to do this, the office that the director, the DGCA heads, 2 years back came out with new norms. They came out with these new norms because they were worried that pilots were getting fatigued. So therefore, they gave the airlines 2 years to ensure that they have enough pilots in place so that when the new norms on fatigue come into effect, which they have now come into effect, that the airlines are prepared to handle them. Was IndiGo prepared to handle them? No. Whose fault is that? It is IndiGo's fault. They have in fact admitted in their own press statements that, look, we made a mess. For IndiGo to have been able to handle the additional number for IndiGo to have been able to handle their present routes while meeting the new norms, they would have required 935 more commanders and 205 more first officers. So with that in mind, what has the government done or the regulator done in the last 2 hours to make the situation better? They have withdrawn one provision. They have said that the instruction contained in a reference paragraph that no leave shall be substituted for weekly rest is hereby withdrawn with immediate effect. I should mention, however, that this is just one clause. What the airline wanted yesterday is all of the clauses essentially, which are part of the new norms, to be withdrawn so that by the 10th of February they can get their act together. The regulator has not done that. But the bottom line remains this. Passengers are being inconvenienced massively. But I look at this also, Padmaja, my last sentence, from the perspective of flight safety. If you've got a regulator trying to mandate norms to ensure that pilots are not fatigued, then why has this airline not complied?
And when the airline hasn't complied, you've actually given them that little bit of relaxation in the rule, and that is what they wanted.
Yeah.
They basically brought things to such an extreme where eventually, to put it crudely, things got completely out of hand.
Yeah.
And they knew that the government will have to relax at least a part of the rules. They got their way, essentially. IndiGo got their way.
IndiGo got their way. This is definitely a capitulation. I completely agree with what you're saying. But what Vishnu said about how IndiGo's operations are on a knife's edge, they've got no margin, no elbow room for things going this way or that way. And even the slightest deviations from any standard operating procedures mean this kind of chaos, I think is a wake-up call not just to civil aviation and these companies, but also to the government and the regulator itself. I agree with Vishnu entirely that the regulator, needs to look at this very, very closely right now, because these messages that have come out from the DGCA, this cancellation confirmation that's come out, the rollback, capitulation, none of this is giving me any comfort, Vedika, about this not happening in the future. Yeah. Because ultimately, the intent of these rules is noble. Rest periods for pilots, standard operating procedures are necessary from a safety standpoint. So how are we going to go into a regime where these things don't exist? I don't have those answers, neither do passengers.
And Shiv, for the want of another word here, but it seems like the DGCA in this case is absolutely helpless. What they've done is they've rolled back partial rules, like Vishnu's just explained to our viewers, caved in, while IndiGo hasn't.
Yeah.
You can see the mess on the, at the airports. You can see the luggage around. You can see passengers just asking for accountability and some basic answers which they're not getting at this point.
And all of this has come on the back of the government today intervening. Home Minister Amit Shah, we broke that news first. He spoke to the civil aviation minister soon after we had that statement coming from the DGCA asking for cooperation of the pilots. The pilots on their own are also extremely agitated. They're saying, look, these were rules that you brought in, not just for pilot safety and pilot rest, but for the safety of passengers, like Vishnu has been pointing out. And now when you step back from this is going to apply across the board, not just to IndiGo pilots, but to pilots across the board. You are jeopardizing passenger safety. Amit Shah spoke to the civil aviation minister, and the other big news that we spoke here is that there could be penalties for IndiGo, and I think that should be key. They can't simply get away by arm twisting the government, the DGCA, putting people at risk, inconveniencing them, and walk away from all of this by actually achieving what they wanted to in the first place.
And if I can just jump in, a lot of passengers are asking a very important question here. Vishnu, maybe you could throw light on this. They're saying, why is it that international flights of IndiGo Airlines has not been impacted as much as the domestic flights? They're saying, is it because they get more revenue from it? This is what passengers are asking.
Well, just a fraction of flights that IndiGo operates are international flights. There are many more, domestic flights. Yeah. But be that as it may, it is a valid question or concern. Let's just go quickly across to our reporters at the stage. Who do we have up at the stage?
We've got Sam, we've got Gurpreet, I think we've got Ashish as well.
We've got Pradeep as well.
Yeah, we've got Pradeep.
So Pradeep, let's come to you first. Give us an idea of the situation around you just now.
See, Vishnu, you are right. That's right from Jammu to Jaipur, Kashmir to Kanyakumari, the problem remains same, and it seems to be aggravating with each passing day. There seems to be no respite for passengers. So far as Jammu airport is concerned, all the 11 IndiGo flights have been cancelled, and we have seen that since morning there had been argument going on between the passengers as well as the staff members here in IndiGo, because they don't have any convincing answer. Here you can see they are waiting here since morning. Let me speak to some of them. Aapka flight bhi cancel ho कितनी मुश्किल वगैरह जो हो रही है सारी इसकी वजह से ऑल्टरनेट फ्लाइट का कितना चार्ज होगा कहाँ का 31 होना और आपका भी फ्लाइट आप कहाँ जाने चाहें आपका भी फ्लाइट आप इस साथ ही the biggest problem is that, one, the flight is getting cancelled, then there is no arrangement for the state. That's another problem we're facing. The third problem is that overcharging, even if there is an alternate flight. Right now, it's very easy to reach London, and I think it would be more economical to reach London than to reach Ranchi, because for Ranchi, it will be about 60,000. Many people since morning have been saying, and some of them were saying that their children had to appear in the examination because of this no fault of theirs. They are suffering. So everybody is asking questions. Why we are made to suffer, and they had been trying their level best. And right now, here at airport, we have seen that the people since morning, they are beelining outside the registration counter, trying to know how and when actually these IndiGo flights are going to be restored. Because so far as Jammu flight cancelled, so far as Kashmir Valley is concerned, about 10 flights cancelled. So that can clearly indicate that problem is going to aggravate, and there seems to be no solution in the future. Because even if the experts are saying, even if they are going to immediately recruit those pilots, it will not be easy for them to immediately fly, because there are certain standard operation procedures.
I just want to keep the strike rotating. Let's just quickly go across to our other correspondents as well at this stage. Let's go across to Sam. Sam, go ahead.
Thank you, Vishnu. We come to you from the Chennai airport, where the chaos continues since morning, with hundreds of IndiGo passengers waiting at the counter, trying for rescheduling, trying for refund, trying to see if they could be transferred to some other airline. But they say they face multiple difficulties. One, even if they manage to get tickets on other airlines, it's prohibitively expensive, 5 times, 6 times, they say, which not everyone can afford. Secondly, there are certain destinations where only IndiGo serves. For them, there's no other alternative. Train tickets in the last minute, just unimaginable. They don't know what to do. Thirdly, there's a category of patients, emergency travelers, people who travel for work, sports persons who have been coming on deadline. All those people are completely stranded. They don't know what to do. And they say that there's no transparent, clear communication from the IndiGo airline as well. With me, a young student who was set to return to his hometown in Assam, but he's stranded. Tell me how difficult it has become for you now.
Well, I woke up in the morning, I was all excited with my friends going home, and I exclaimed to them it was a road to paradise, but it seems to be more like a highway to hell right now. So we are moving into the acceptance mode right now. Like, we cannot fight and do anything about it. So let's see what
are your options now.
Next option is definitely other airlines that can guarantee us getting us home. So I am actually looking for Air India right now. So I've got a ticket. I hope that does not cancel us.
In terms of pricing?
In terms of pricing, the pricing is like insanely high. Like, I don't think I would have been able to afford it. But just for a nick of time.
Is pointing out this pricing, this predatory pricing that is taking place now, and more news coming in right now. Like we said, IndiGo really seems to be getting what it wants at this point. The DGCA has granted a temporary one-time exemption to IndiGo A320 fleet to utilize pilots for night duty. This exemption is till the 10th of February. So earlier, the rest rules were slightly relaxed. Now you've got a one-time exemption to IndiGo A320 fleet to utilize pilots for night duty till the 10th of February. The conditions for this approval have also been spelled out, that you will have to submit a fortnightly progress report to the DGCA, which gives you details of actual utilization of crew, steps taken to enhance crew availability, operability improvements that have been achieved, revised crew planning and rostering measures. The question is, will IndiGo do any of this? Because, all right, so you've got people actually disrobing in protest at the airport. They are livid, they are angry. It's the ground staff which is really facing the brunt of it all. And IndiGo right now sitting pretty much. Shiv.
You know, the exemption that's been given to IndiGo now on night duty is just another sort of incremental step being taken,
Correct.
Which clearly indicates that nobody has a handle on this. I think Vishnu was right when he says everyone is feeling in the dark right now to see what can alleviate the
and
situation.
Honestly, it seems a little panicked.
Just look at the tempers and look at the situation there. You saw a man taking his shirt off. Now that may seem comical to people watching this, but just imagine what it's like in that crowd, guys. We've all been at counters there. We've all been in lines where we've felt aggrieved and wanting to yell at people at the counters. Just imagine what it's like with 500 people behind you, CISF staff standing there, and zero clarity. You keep talking about how nobody over there is able to give passengers any information.
Yeah.
Vishnu showed us the app. Tanushka, okay, Tanushka's on the phone line with us. Tanushka, the DGCA's partial more relief for IndiGo right now. What does that mean? Is that going to have any immediate effect at all? Our passengers want to know.
Precisely, so basically DGCA has relaxed one clause which debars airlines to club leaves with weekly rest to mitigate such IndiGo crisis across board, as in to prevent such a situation from happening with other airlines. This measure is being taken to ensure continuity.
You can just bring down our audio for half a second so that I can just jump in quickly. Tanushka, what has happened in the last 10 minutes is that in addition to that one guideline, there are two more guidelines where the DGCA has actually rolled back. On night duty from midnight to 5 a.m., right? So now they will go back to midnight to 5 a.m. The new rules were night duty definition was 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. and for operations encroaching night duty. So there are three things, and the earlier one that you were talking about, so just for the benefit of our viewers, there are three steps which the DGCA has done where they have actually rolled back to try and sort out the situation, but they have not rolled back on perhaps the key one over here, weekly rest. Weekly rest for pilots was 36 hours, that went up to 48 hours, and as of now, they have not rolled back on them. So, Shiv, to me, this seems to be a battle between concessions which the airline seeks and what the regulator is sort of handing out in drips.
No, does the regulator have a choice right now, Vishnu? Given IndiGo's muscle, the message I'm getting and the message that angry, irritated passengers are getting is that the regulator has no power over IndiGo at this point of time. They are unable to enforce anything. All they're being forced to do is give out these incremental concessions. I'm sure there are going to be many more in the hours ahead. How is IndiGo able to do this, Vishnu?
You see, it's populism. If I think the Director General of Civil Aviation standing up to the airline at this stage is important for the safety of passengers at a time when we get into peak fog season, extreme rushes because of marriage season, celebrations, festivity season, whatever it is, end of year, right? All of these factors is when the DGCA, which is required to actually protect passenger safety, has to work hard. So they've got these norms, but they have faced an airline which happens to be the biggest in the country saying, sorry, we can't do it. And look, the protests now happening all over this thing. The entire roster is gone for a toss.
And it's essentially what seems to, have dictated these moves is that this is a pressure cooker situation. You literally had the entire country on every single airport, people just standing there,
it's already exploded.
losing their mind, disrobing, little children wailing without food, people yelling. Talking about, how our next flight also, Raman, is going to be for 25, 30, 40,000 and nobody telling them if there is going to be any kind of alternatives made available to them. So right now, the entire focus is let us alleviate the situation, let us ease the pressure on people, let the flights start, because right now you go on a collision course with IndiGo, they are only going to get their backs up. What's happening in Patna, Raman?
Well, Padmaja, the situation is very worst in Patna, and I want to see you the board in front of me that 12 flights from Patna is being cancelled across all the country, and flights from Patna to Delhi, flights from Patna to Mumbai, Patna to Pune, Patna to Ahmedabad, all the IndiGo flights have been cancelled, and the fare prices of the flight tickets is been rocket high, and you can imagine the Patna to Delhi price is up to 25,000 and Patna to Mumbai price is up to 40,000, and here you can see the counter of IndiGo. There is a huge ruckus and chaos is already happening, going on. Earlier in the morning, the line is very long, and you can see the passengers are struggling to the accountability, and IndiGo is not able to get back to the passengers, and they are still waiting for the answer and response from the IndiGo. Sir, what the problems you are facing?
Too much problem. They are not able to cope up with the passengers, the crowd.
Yeah.
I have a connecting flight to Hong Kong. So I'm not sure whether they cancelled both the flight or only the Patna flight. So I have to go. I don't know how they are going to solve this issue.
So what they are telling to you? They are telling to you something, or they are
not able to reach even?
So see, these are the passengers who they are flying abroad, and they are facing problems at Patna airport, and these are the situations, and the passengers is already is not been getting accountability by the IndiGo staff, and we want to talk with some of the most passengers. Sir, what problems you are facing at the IndiGo?
Like we are not getting the flights are getting cancelled every day. So it's like...
yesterday this is reoccurring. Yesterday also we had flight. They said we'll reschedule it for today. We traveled from Gaya. They gave cab from... It's fine, we are there in queue. We traveled from Gaya. They gave us cab to come to Patna, and now we are there at Patna airport and our flights are cancelled.
Yep. These are the problems which passengers are facing at Patna airport, and the situation is very chaos. Earlier in the morning, this line is very huge, and right now passengers are not getting answers from the IndiGo side. So these are the situation, and the price of other airlines companies like SpiceJet, Air India, these prices are going sky high, and the tickets to Patna to across the different cities is reaching a very high, around 25 to 30,000 is being charged for Patna to Delhi, around 40,000 plus fare is being charged to Patna to Mumbai. So you can imagine how passengers are facing problems across the city, and already at Patna airport.
Very much, Raman. In fact, Tanushka also spoke to a lady who was traveling with an infant in arms, barely a year and a half old. Again, the same problems at the airport, no communication. IndiGo now coming out with this long note saying, we're very sorry, we can't do it without you. But, well, when they were needed the most, they weren't there on the ground to communicate with these people. Listen into what happened.
So we're still at the Delhi airport, wherein a lot of these passengers, there are passengers here from all, these positions at this point. The lady here just beside me is with an infant right now, ma'am. आपकी flight कब से cancel है? अभी यहाँ पे कब से?
2 दिन से cancel है.
2 दिनों से
cancel है.
और 2 दिन से
आज भी cancel है.
आज का फ्लाइट दिया कल इधर से दिल्ली से कलकत्ता, दिल्ली से हैदराबाद तक, हैदराबाद से जो कलकत्ता तक, कलकत्ता का हैदराबाद से जो कलकत्ता तक फ्लाइट था उसको कैंसिल कर दिया.
तो अब 2 दिन से इंडिगो के चक्कर काट रहे हैं. हाँ, विद योर बेबी.
हम लोग इधर से हैदराबाद जाकर क्या करेंगे?
It is really troubling. Really troubling.
And what have IndiGo been telling you?
We are extending. We are giving tomorrow another flight. Delaying after 4 hours, after 24 hours, and now they are telling again for after 2 days with 2 babies, it's impossible to arrange.
मैम बॉम्बे की फ्लाइट ओपन की है क्या? बॉम्बे के लिए
आपको जाना किधर है अभी? कोलकाता. एंड कोलकाता की एक भी फ्लाइट आपको इंडिगो से तो नहीं मिल रही है. एंड व्हाट अबाउट अदर एयरलाइंस? आपने बाकी एयरलाइंस देखे?
Charges are very high, 40,000, 50,000. And we are 4-5 members. It's impossible to
accommodate it. Yeah, exactly. So clearly here, the struggles of the middle class society here at Delhi airport, wherein IndiGo is of course not an option right now. But what about other airlines? Other airlines' fares are skyrocketing. Just as we were talking to this woman here, she is with an infant and her 4-year-old as well. So 2 children here. The account of a mother who's dealing her 2 children at the airport since the past 2 days with no recourse. No dispute, no respite. Let us also speak to more people here. Sir, आप कब से यहाँ पर वेट कर रहे हो?
मैं कल जोधपुर से दिल्ली फ्लाइट में आया. कल दोपहर से यहाँ वेट कर रहा हूँ. मेरा ऑनवर्ड जर्नी है चेन्नई से कोयम्बटूर. अभी तक मेरा बैगेज का कोई पता नहीं है. आई एम रनिंग a high temperature on this winter cold. My wife fractured her leg. We don't have even a small jacket. और हमको ये बोल दिया कि आपका फ्लाइट रीशेड्यूल कर दिया है, आप जाओ करके. हमको इन लोगों ने एक होटल का नंबर दिया. होटल जाने से होटल वाले ने हमको कुत्तों के जैसे बाहर निकाल के भेज दिया कि यहाँ पे कोई रूम अवेलेबल नहीं है. रात को 12-1 बजे के ठंड में हम रोड पे सो रहे थे. आज सवेरे टैक्सी भर के हमारे खुद से पैसे से आज सवेरे की फ़्लाइट आए. सवेरे की फ़्लाइट वापस बोल रहे हैं कि कैंसिल है. अब पूछ रहे हैं हमारा लगेज कहाँ है. ये लोग बोल रहे हैं हमको मालूम नहीं है. There is no higher authorities to even come and give us a solution for this. There are thousands of passengers, young kids, people who are going for sports academy and higher studies. They are all on standards. Unless and otherwise, government and airport authority comes and gives a solution, these people will take everybody for a big jolly ride.
All right, there is breaking news coming in. IndiGo has admitted to serious operational crisis. IndiGo has confirmed massive cancellations and said full refund on cancellations will take place. They have issued a statement saying, to each one of our customers, we are truly sorry and we will take care. We do deeply apologize and understand how difficult the past few days have been for many of you. While this will not get resolved overnight, important to note that they say this will not get resolved overnight. They go on to say, we assure you that we will do everything in our capacity. Then later on in that statement, they go on to say that we would like to share some information with you. We will ensure that all refunds for your cancellations will be processed automatically to your original mode of payment. We will offer full waiver on all cancellations or reschedule requests of your bookings for your travel between the 5th and 15th of December, which is 10 days away, and thousands of hotel rooms across cities and surface transport have been arranged for the convenience of our customers.
We'll also have to wait and see what kind of rooms. Now, obviously, if there are so many people stranded, how will all of them be accommodated? Do you have good enough places to put up all these people? They will have special needs, perhaps, some of them. More news, in fact, coming in. A statement has come from the Ministry of Civil Aviation as well, which says, as per the directions of the minister, the control room at the ministry has been continuously engaging to maintain constant vigil over the unprecedented situation arising from the cancellation and delays of IndiGo flights. This morning, the minister visited the control room and reviewed its functioning, etc., to ensure seamless communication among all stakeholders, with a special focus on providing timely information. Real-time updates from all airports are being monitored to ensure adequate response and deployment of resources, particularly for facilitating passengers stranded at various terminals. You know, I mean, this is the statement that has come, but let's just be honest. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon now. We've been on this story since 9 in the morning, Shiv, Vedika and Vishnu. And all of this timely information being given to passengers, them being taken to places where they are comfortable, information, the flow of information being continuous and prompt. This hasn't been seen.
You know,
the control room
it's a
have
flop
been
show,
working.
let's face it.
We didn't see this.
This is going to seem almost insulting if passengers get to read this, and I'm sure they're going to be reading this on their phones. You know, I just want to read one line out from the details that you just enlisted, Padmaja, which is that we will do everything to earn back your trust and the love you have showered on us in the last 19 years, and we cannot lose it at any cost.
Feels more like
cannot lose it. You know, that bird has flown, and that appears to be the only thing that's flying right now.
And to sum it all up, Shiv, what you're seeing is rollback. You're seeing an apology, but you're not seeing any timeline here. There's no timeline from
They don't
anybody,
know. They have no idea what the timeline is.
Absolutely.
You know, 1 hour ago, when the first statement came from IndiGo, they said that we are arranging food from you. We just spoke to our colleagues, literally right now. Where's the food? Leave the food. Where is the communication? Where is the information? People are saying, give me my luggage back. You checked in my luggage. Are you putting me on another flight? Which hotel are you taking me to? There still aren't enough people at that counter. So on the one hand, the government is saying we're in the control room. All that information is being disseminated. Where is that information going?
You've got a picture of the civil aviation minister at that crucial meeting. I think that's a crisis meeting of the aviation minister.
That's the control room.
The control room.
That's the control room.
The control room. So he's going to be taking a crack at what nobody else seems to be able to solve over the last 7 hours that we've been live on this one single story. He's getting real-time updates. He's had a word. He's had a call from the Home Minister, no less than the Home Minister himself. Amit Shah has spoken to Ramohan Naidu a short while ago. You know, I'm just wondering what... Okay, we're cutting out of the IndiGo coverage for the live press conference by Prime Minister.
His Excellency Mr. Vladimir Putin, President of the Russian Federation, Shri Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of the Republic of Bharat, Honorable Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I welcome you all to this ceremony where we shall witness exchange of several MOUs and agreements and a few announcements that reflect the wide-ranging, multifaceted bilateral cooperation under the framework of the India-Russia Special and Privileged Strategic Partnership. We will begin with exchange of two documents, namely the agreement between the Government of the Republic of India and the Government of the Russian Federation on cooperation in migration, and the agreement between the Government of the Republic of India and the Government of the Russian Federation on temporary labor activity of citizens of one state in the territory of the other state. These documents will be exchanged by Mr. Vladimir Kolokoltsev, Minister of Internal Affairs of the Russian Federation, and Dr. S. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister of India. The next two documents include the agreement between the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of the Republic of India and the Ministry of Health of the Russian Federation on the cooperation in the field of healthcare, medical education and science, as well as the agreement between the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of Republic of India and the Federal Service for Surveillance on Consumer Rights Protection and Human Well-being of the Russian Federation in the field of food safety cooperation. These two agreements will be exchanged by Mr. Mikhail Albertovich Murashko, Minister of Health of the Russian Federation, and Dr. S. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister of India. We next have two memorandums of understandings. These include the MOU between the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways of the Republic of India and the Ministry of Transport of the Russian Federation on the training of specialists for ships operating in polar waters, and the MOU between the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways of the Republic of India and the Maritime Board of the Russian Federation. These documents will be exchanged by Mr. Andrei Sergeyevich Nikitin, Minister of Transport of the Russian Federation, and Sri Sarvananda Sonowal, Minister of Ports, Shipping and Waterways of India. We now have the exchange of MOU between Messrs. JSC Ural Chem and Messrs. Rashtriya Chemicals and Fertilizers Limited and National Fertilizers Limited and Indian Potash Limited. This document will be exchanged by His Excellency Denis Alipov, Ambassador of the Russian Federation to India, and Sri Vinay Kumar, Ambassador of India to the Russian Federation. The last two documents include the protocol between the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs of the Government of the Republic of India and the Federal Customs Service of the Russian Federation for cooperation in exchange of pre-arrival information in respect of goods and vehicles moved between the Republic of India and the Russian Federation, and the bilateral agreement between the Department of Posts, Ministry of Communications of the Republic of India and GSC, the Russian Post. These documents will be exchanged by His Excellency Denis Alipov, Ambassador of the Russian Federation to India, and Sri Vinay Kumar, Ambassador of India to the Russian Federation. I would like to additionally inform everyone that the two leaders have also adopted a joint statement which would be issued shortly. Both sides have also adopted the program for the development of strategic areas of India-Russia economic cooperation till 2030. And we also welcome the Russian side's decision to adopt the framework agreement to join the International Big Cat Alliance. Ladies and gentlemen, I now request the spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs to conduct the rest of the proceedings.
Namaskar, good afternoon, Your Excellency, Mr. Vladimir Putin, President of the Russian Federation, Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, Honorable Ministers, members of both delegations, distinguished guests, and friends from the media. We will now have the press statements. May I request Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, to give his remarks to the media.
Your Excellency, my friend, Rashtrapati Putin, दोनों देशों के डेलीगेट्स, मीडिया के साथियों, नमस्कार, दोबरे दिन। आज भारत और रूस के 23वें शिखर सम्मेलन में राष्ट्रपति पुतिन का स्वागत करते हुए मुझे बहुत खुशी हो रही है। उनकी यात्रा ऐसे समय हो रही है जब हमारे द्विपक्षीय संबंध कई ऐतिहासिक माइलस्टोन के दौर से गुजर रहे हैं। ठीक 25 वर्ष पहले राष्ट्रपति पुतिन ने हमारी स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप की नींव रखी थी। 15 वर्ष पहले 2010 में हमारी साझेदारी को स्पेशल एंड प्रिविलेज स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप का दर्जा मिला। पिछले 2.5 दशक से उन्होंने अपने नेतृत्व और दूरदृष्टि से इन संबंधों को निरंतर सींचा है। हर परिस्थिति में उनके नेतृत्व ने आपसी संबंधों को नई ऊंचाई दी है। भारत के प्रति इस गहरी मित्रता और अटूट प्रतिबद्धता के लिए मैं राष्ट्रपति पुतिन का, मेरे मित्र का हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। फ्रेंड्स, पिछले 8 दशकों में विश्व में अनेक उतार चढ़ाव आए हैं। मानवता को अनेक चुनौतियों और संकटों से गुजरना पड़ा है और इन सब के बीच भी भारत रूस मित्रता एक ध्रुव तारे की तरह बनी रही है। परस्पर सम्मान और गहरे विश्वास पर टिके ये संबंध समय की हर कसौटी पर हमेशा खरे उतरे हैं। आज हमने इस नींव को और मजबूत करने के लिए सहयोग के सभी पहलुओं पर चर्चा की। आर्थिक सहयोग को नई ऊंचाइयों पर ले जाना हमारी साझी प्राथमिकता है। इसे साकार करने के लिए आज हमने 2030 तक के लिए एक इकोनॉमिक कोऑपरेशन प्रोग्राम पर सहमति बनाई है। इससे हमारा व्यापार और निवेश डाइवर्सिफाइड, बैलेंस और सस्टेनेबल बनेगा और सहयोग के क्षेत्रों में नए आयाम भी जुड़ेंगे। आज राष्ट्रपति पुतिन और मुझे इंडिया रशिया बिजनेस फोरम में शामिल होने का अवसर मिलेगा। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि ये मंच हमारे बिजनेस संबंधों को नई ताकत देगा। इससे एक्सपोर्ट, को प्रोडक्शन और को इनोवेशन के नए दरवाजे भी खुलेंगे। दोनों पक्ष यूरेशियन इकोनॉमिक यूनियन के साथ एफटीए के शीघ्र समापन के लिए प्रयास कर रहे हैं। कृषि और फर्टिलाइजर के क्षेत्र में हमारा करीबी सहयोग फूड सिक्योरिटी और किसान कल्याण के लिए महत्वपूर्ण है। मुझे खुशी है कि इसे आगे बढ़ाते हुए अब दोनों पक्ष साथ मिलकर यूरिया उत्पादन के प्रयास कर रहे हैं। फ्रेंड्स, दोनों देशों के बीच कनेक्टिविटी बढ़ाना हमारी मुख्य प्राथमिकता है। हम आईएनएसटीसी, नॉर्दर्न सी रूट, चेन्नई व्लादिवोस्टोक कॉरिडोर पर नई ऊर्जा के साथ आगे बढ़ेंगे। मुझे खुशी है कि अब हम भारत के सी फेरर्स की पोलर वाटर्स में ट्रेनिंग के लिए सहयोग करेंगे। यह आर्कटिक में हमारे सहयोग को नई ताकत तो देगा ही, साथ ही इससे भारत के युवाओं के लिए रोजगार के नए अवसर बनेंगे। उसी प्रकार से शिप बिल्डिंग में हमारा गहरा सहयोग मेक इन इंडिया को सशक्त बनाने का सामर्थ्य रखता है। यह हमारे विन विन सहयोग का एक और उत्तम उदाहरण है, जिससे जॉब्स, स्किल्स और रीजनल कनेक्टिविटी सभी को बल मिलेगा। ऊर्जा सुरक्षा भारत रूस साझेदारी का मजबूत और महत्वपूर्ण स्तंभ रहा है। सिविल न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी के क्षेत्र में हमारा दशकों पुराना सहयोग क्लीन एनर्जी की हमारी साझा प्राथमिकताओं को सार्थक बनाने में महत्वपूर्ण रहा है। हम इस विन विन सहयोग को जारी रखेंगे। क्रिटिकल मिनरल्स में हमारा सहयोग पूरे विश्व में सिक्योर और डाइवर्सिफाइड सप्लाई चेन सुनिश्चित करने के लिए महत्वपूर्ण है। इससे क्लीन एनर्जी, हाईटेक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और न्यू एज इंडस्ट्रीज में हमारी साझेदारी को ठोस समर्थन मिलेगा। फ्रेंड्स, भारत और रूस के संबंधों में हमारे सांस्कृतिक सहयोग और पीपल टू पीपल टाइज का विशेष महत्व रहा है। दशकों से दोनों देशों के लोगों में एक दूसरे के प्रति स्नेह, सम्मान और आत्मीयता का भाव रहा है। इन संबंधों को और मजबूत करने के लिए हमने कई नए कदम उठाए हैं। हाल ही में रूस में भारत के 2 नए कॉन्सुलेट्स खोले गए हैं। इससे दोनों देशों के नागरिकों के बीच संपर्क और सुगम होगा और आपसी नजदीकियां बढ़ेगी। इस वर्ष अक्टूबर में लाखों श्रद्धालुओं को काल्मिकिया में इंटरनेशनल बुद्धिस्ट फोरम में भगवान बुद्ध के पवित्र अवशेषों का आशीर्वाद मिला। मुझे खुशी है कि शीघ्र ही हम रूसी नागरिकों के लिए निःशुल्क 30 डे ई टूरिस्ट वीजा और 30 डे ग्रुप टूरिस्ट वीजा की शुरुआत करने जा रहे हैं। मैन पावर मोबिलिटी हमारे लोगों को जोड़ने के साथ साथ दोनों देशों के लिए नई ताकत और नए अवसर क्रिएट करेगी। मुझे खुशी है कि इससे बढ़ावा देने के लिए आज 2 समझौते किए गए हैं। हम मिलकर वोकेशनल एजुकेशन, स्किलिंग और ट्रेनिंग पर भी काम करेंगे। हम दोनों देशों के स्टूडेंट्स, स्कॉलर्स और खिलाड़ियों का आदान प्रदान भी बढ़ाएंगे। फ्रेंड्स, आज हमने क्षेत्रीय और वैश्विक मुद्दों पर भी चर्चा की। यूक्रेन के संबंध में भारत ने शुरुआत से शांति का पक्ष रखा है। हम इस विषय के शांतिपूर्ण और स्थायी समाधान के लिए किए जा रहे सभी प्रयासों का स्वागत करते हैं। भारत सदैव अपना योगदान देने के लिए तैयार रहा है और आगे भी रहेगा। आतंकवाद के विरुद्ध लड़ाई में भारत और रूस ने लंबे समय से कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर सहयोग किया है। पहलगाम में हुआ आतंकी हमला हो या क्रोकस सिटी हॉल पर किया गया कायरतापूर्ण आघात, इन सभी घटनाओं की जड़ एक ही है। भारत का अटल विश्वास है कि आतंकवाद मानवता के मूल्यों पर सीधा प्रहार है और इसके विरुद्ध वैश्विक एकता ही हमारी सबसे बड़ी ताकत है। भारत और रूस के बीच यूएन, G20, ब्रिक्स, SCO तथा अन्य मंचों पर करीबी सहयोग रहा है। करीबी तालमेल के साथ आगे बढ़ते हुए हम इन सभी मंचों पर अपना संवाद और सहयोग जारी रखेंगे। एक्सेलेंसी, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि आने वाले समय में हमारी मित्रता हमें ग्लोबल चैलेंजेस का सामना करने की शक्ति देगी और यही भरोसा हमारे साझा भविष्य को और समृद्ध करेगा। मैं एक बार फिर आपको और आपके पूरे डेलीगेशन को भारत यात्रा के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं। स्पासिबा।
Thank you, sir. May I now request His Excellency Mr. Vladimir Putin, President of the Russian Federation, to give his remarks to the media.
Уважаемый господин
Distinguished Prime Minister, dear friend, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to sincerely thank the President of the Republic of India, Draupadi Murmu, you personally, distinguished Prime Minister, and all our Indian colleagues for the warm and hospitable welcome accorded to the Russian delegation. The negotiations that we just had with the Indian colleagues, and as well as our talk yesterday with distinguished Mr. Modi in the form of Tele-Set at his residence, the dinner was great. I would like to thank you for this sign of attention. These talks were very useful. They were held in a constructive and a friendly atmosphere, in the spirit of the special and privileged partnership between Russia and India. I would like to point out that we and Prime Minister Modi have established close working dialogue. In September this year, we met during the SEO summit in Tianjin. We are regularly having telephone calls. We are personally overseeing some aspects of the development of Russian-Indian cooperation, all strategic avenues, and also we are monitoring the course of the implementation of key bilateral projects. And today, with the participation of our delegations, we have meticulously and substantively reviewed the whole range of relevant questions of the Russian-Indian multifaceted interaction. We exchange our opinions on the relevant global and regional subjects. In the joint statement that we've adopted with Mr. Modi, we've delineated the priority objectives on the further reinforcements of our ties in the politics and security, economy, trade, and humanitarian and cultural spheres. As you saw for yourself, we have signed an impressive package of intergovernmental, interagency, and corporate agreements. Many of those agreements are intended to broaden the economic cooperation between Russia and India. And this is entirely natural, due to the fact that our countries are important partners of one another in trade, investment, and technologies. Last year, our bilateral trade turnover has grown by 12%, setting another record. According to different data, this number may look different, but it is generally around $64 billion. Currently, we are forecasting that the results of this year will remain at the same impressive level. At the same time, as I perceive it, we are up to the task of getting this number to the level of $100 billion. And to reach this important goal, we have harmonized the program of development of Russian-Indian economic cooperation until 2030. This comprehensive document gives us a concrete set of objectives. The Intergovernmental Commission, the ministries and different agencies of the economic bloc of both countries have set objectives to remove barriers hampering the goods flows and capitals, the implementation of joint projects and deep technology and innovation cooperation. And distinguished Prime Minister gave us a whole list of challenges that deserve the most attentive focus of our government. We will do that. The growth of Russian-Indian commercial links would be helped by the creation of a free trade zone between India and the Eurasian Economic Union. We are already conducting work on the corresponding agreement. I would like to note with satisfaction that our countries are gradually moving to the use of national currencies in mutual settlements. The share of these national currencies is already 96% in commercial deals. We have established resilient channels of credit, financial, and interbanking cooperation. Russian economic operators have broadened the sphere of use of Indian rupees, which we receive from the fulfillment of export contracts. Russian rubles are being used to provide loans for large joint projects. We are also seeing successful partnership in energy. Russia is a reliable supplier of oil, gas, coal, and everything that is required for the development of India's energy. We are ready to continue uninterrupted shipments of fuel for the fast-growing Indian economy. Of course, the bilateral interaction in energy does not limit to that. We are also conducting a flagship project to build the largest Indian nuclear power plant, Kudankulam. 2 out of 6 reactor units have been already connected to the energy network, and 4 are still under construction. Getting this nuclear power plant to full power output will give an impressive contribution to the energy requirements of India. It will help supply Indian enterprises and houses with cheap and clean energy. We presume that we could talk about the construction of small modular reactors and floating nuclear power plants, and also non-energy application of nuclear technologies, for example, in medicine or agriculture. We are working with our Indian partners to build new, effective international transport logistic routes, including the projects to create an international north-south transport corridor from Russia or Belarus from Russia and Belarus to the Indian Ocean coast. There are large opportunities for bilateral trade due to the broadening of the Trans-Arctic transport corridor infrastructure, including its main artery, the Northern Sea Route. There are many other sectors of the economy where Russia and India have garnered positive experience. We are conducting joint initiatives in industry, machine manufacturing, digital technologies, space exploration, and other science-intensive avenues. For example, in accordance with the commercial agreement signed during the visit, there will be a large Russian-Indian pharmaceutical factory built in the Kaluga region in Russia. We will be starting the production of high-quality anti-tumor medicinal drugs using the advanced Indian technology. In their turn, the Russian enterprises will be establishing the production of industrial products in the framework of the Make in India program, which is a hallmark project of distinguished Prime Minister Modi. The prospects of the reinforcement of the interaction of Russian-Indian entrepreneurs and business circles are discussed in detail during the ongoing Business Forum in New Delhi. We are going to take part in the plenary session of this event today together with Mr. Modi. The humanitarian cooperation between Russia and India is also of a multifaceted character. Our peoples throughout centuries have been sincerely interested in the traditions, history, and spiritual values of each other. Scientific and educational contacts, exchanges from among the youth and public are also actively developing. The regular alternating festivals of Russian Indian cinema are always popular. From year to year, we see the increase in tourist flows. Today, the Russian TV channel RT is starting its broadcast in India. The new channel will undoubtedly help the Indian audience to better know Russia and Russians, and also to receive an objective information regarding what is going on in our country today. While discussing the key global and regional problems, we have confirmed the consonance between the positions of our countries. Russia and India are conducting independent and self-sufficient foreign policy together with the like-minded countries in BRICS and SCO, and from among other countries of the global majority. We are promoting the processes of forming of a more just and democratic multipolar world order. We are defending the main principles of the international law enshrined in the Charter of the UN. Among them, the right of any country for its own way of development and the preservation of their cultural civilizational identity, respect for sovereignty, careful balance of interests of all participants of the world community. As state founders of the BRICS, Russia and India have done a lot of things and continue to do more to increase the authority of the organization. As you know, next year India will assume the chairship, and the BRICS will provide all necessary assistance to our Indian friends in the work on the relevant BRICS agenda. I would like to point out Russia and India are traditionally closely cooperating in the military technical sphere. Our country, for the last half a century, has been helping to arm and modernize the Indian Army, including the air defense forces, aviation, and the Navy. In general, we are undoubtedly satisfied with the results of the negotiation we just had. We also, ahead of us, we have the meeting with the President of India, Madam Murmu. But even now, I can express my confidence that the current visit and the agreements reached will help the further deepening of the Russian-Indian strategic partnership for the benefit of our countries and the peoples of India and Russia. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir. That concludes the press statements. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your presence.
Are joint statements that have been issued by India and Russia after those extremely important bilateral summit discussions that came to an end. Shortly, the two leaders will head to address the plenary session of the India-Russia Business Forum. But Shiv and Vishnu, extremely important set of agreements that have been signed, the messaging that has come out, everything from the war to how the trade should be elevated to the multi-dimensional aspect of the bilateral partnership.
Gauri and Vishnu, the largest nuclear plant in Kudankulam has been mentioned right now by President Putin. That's going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest takeaway, because the rest are announcements that are in motion, the trade, manufacturing and partnership announcements. But 2 out of 6 reactors under construction, Putin mentioning it by name. Vishnu, this is something that you've looked at very closely as well. Nuclear energy cooperation was something that we'd reported first would be on the table, and it's just been mentioned by the President.
No, that's really important because it's not just Kudankulam. We are looking at new modular nuclear reactors. We are using Russian technology. Russian nuclear reactors have done fabulously well in India. Kudankulam is just one example of how there is immense potential in energy cooperation between India and Russia. But the future of nuclear reactors lies in smaller modular designs. They fulfill certain requirements. India, of course, has our own state-of-the-art nuclear plants to our own design, fast breeder reactors and the like. But this is something that needs to go towards meeting our incredible energy requirements, particularly as we progressively move away from coal. But there's a long lead time for the construction of any nuclear reactor. So therefore, that's something that's important.
No, it's hugely important. The agreements are still being signed right now. A detailed joint statement will emerge in a few minutes from now, where Gauri and Vishnu will be able to see in an even more detailed manner what the two leaders have agreed upon today. The key highlights have been mentioned by the two leaders, obviously for want of time, but as oftentimes happens when you look at the detailed joint statement by the two leaders, there are many nuggets, many things that aren't mentioned. I'm sure there's going to be a mention of defense and cooperation there, perhaps even a mention of some ongoing negotiations as far as deals are concerned. Those will reflect definitely as far as the strategic relationship is concerned, but a multipolar world, nuclear energy cooperation, the boosting of trade between the two sides. And Gauri, what you were mentioning just now, the big India-Russia business conference that both these leaders will be addressing at the Bharat Mandapam right after this event is of preeminent importance, considering what the two leaders are attempting to do this time.
Absolutely. And the words that the Prime Minister used, where he said that economic cooperation by 2030, where we want to elevate it, he said it should be diversified, it should be balanced, and it should be sustainable. And I think that's the most important aspect of this trade relationship, where both sides are now looking to grow this to $100 billion over the course of the next 5 years, less than 5 years. And he also went on to mention critical minerals and clean energy, two extremely important aspects of how India aspires to take this trade relationship, the bilateral trade, from here, which is about $65 billion to $100 billion in the next 5 years. Let's get in Vishal as well. He's joining us live from Bharat Mandapam, where that all-important meeting, that business meeting, is going to take place very shortly. Vishal, it's a very large contingent, business contingent that has come in from Russia along with President Putin, and it's being pegged around a large trade, being a very large and important aspect of this visit.
That's exactly right. And since yesterday, I've been here almost the last 24 hours. All the business leaders I've spoken to, they've all talked about, 2-3 things in particular. First one is, of course, the exchange of personnel on both the sides. Russia has been wanting at least 500,000 Indian workers, and they also want exchange of technologies. And there's also some banks that are here, some nationalized banks from the Russian side that want an access to the Indian market. And the Russian side has been quite forthcoming. We've heard from the Russian press secretary, Dmitry Peskov, in the recent past. He has also said that the Russian companies, the Russian businesses, they are willing to, explore the Indian territory. So far, largely unexplored by the Russian businesses, because we've been talking throughout that there's a big trade imbalance between both the sides. But there is bonhomie, so that that area will be ironed out. The businesses that need to be explored will be explored. There are several areas that have been addressed in these conferences since yesterday. Some of the biggest ministers from the Russian side were here. The Deputy Trade Minister was there. The Agriculture Minister was there. They've all talked about their respective areas, and they've said that India and Russia are ready to cooperate on all the fronts.
Let me bring in, Vishal, hold on to that thought. Let me bring in Vasudha as well, our political editor. Vasudha, what were your big takeaways from what the two leaders have announced so far? We're obviously waiting for the longer document so we can go through it with a fine-tooth comb. But big messaging.
Shiv, for me, the biggest takeaway was the fact that I think India is now ready to take its relationship with Russia at a different level. It wants to consolidate the gains that come out of this relationship, because it's not just going to be about Raj Kapoor and yoga. And I remember going to Russia last year and wanting to talk to these Raj Kapoor fans, but everybody said that yoga is more popular. So this time, it's very clear that India wants to consolidate the gains of these relationship. At the same time, there have been very concrete, tangible outcomes of this. The 5-year project, India-Russia strategic economic cooperation, identifying those areas where India can benefit out of Russia and Russia can also benefit out of India. That's important. This project, which has been, talked about for a long time, this connecting corridor between Vladivostok and Chennai, both port cities, is something that has been announced today. Kudankulam, a nuclear reactor project, the largest in India, which has seen a lot of projects, has been announced by Vladimir Putin himself. So clearly a lot of work seems to have gone into this. Prime Minister specifically reiterated his position that India is on the side of peace, and all the peace efforts that are being made to ensure peace between Ukraine and Russia. That also shows that India is ready to talk about its position and ready to diversify not just trade but also investments.
I found the really interesting part in this, and Vasudha, maybe you can pitch in on this, that Putin renewing his multipolar world pitch, promoting a just, democratic and multipolar world. He said this also in Rajghat, where he actually wrote about it. And said that that's what Gandhiji perhaps had wanted. So this is important because it sends a larger global message.
Absolutely, Vishnu, and he did talk about the importance of platforms like BRICS and SEO, and he said that both India and Russia have self-sufficient foreign policy, and that really plays a lot of important role in creating a just multipolar world. Clearly the outcome is also something that's for us to see, and it comes at a very turbulent geopolitical time, with the West on one side and Trump's politics also playing on one side.
Indeed. In fact, specifically, if you see that there was a lot of focus from Prime Minister's side when he mentioned about the fact that there has to be a peaceful and stable resolution. So he mentioned first and foremost that there has to be a certain longevity to whatever may be the peace formula that may be agreed upon as far as the Ukraine war is concerned. And that's extremely important because, this is the first country that President Putin has come to just 2 days after that 5-hour-long meeting with Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, Vishnu, and that didn't lead to any, concrete peace formula, so to say. And for him to mention that here indicates that this visit, this meeting was as much about the India-Russia relationship as it was about the global realities in which everyone is functioning.
What I think is important is that Putin sharing, his peace plan or his ideas with Prime Minister Modi, it's not just a courtesy sort of message. I think he realizes that India is invested in the process of peace in Europe. The Prime Minister has visited Ukraine, he's visited Russia in the past, he's spoken to the Ukrainian leader Zelensky, to President Putin on several occasions, and therefore he feels he is obligated in a certain stage to keep India and Prime Minister Modi informed about these developments. Now, America believes that it has the solution and the only possible solution to the outcome of the Russia-Ukraine war, and while, that may be an important way in trying to get this resolved, the fact of the matter is that there is a country called India, the largest democracy in the world. We have, a deep interest in an abiding peace over there for so many reasons. For starters, think about, the food grain prices around the world have been impacted as a result of the war. Think of the tens of thousands of Indian students who've been impacted as a result of that. Think about the fact that if this war wasn't existing, then India would continue to potentially import oil from Russia. Therefore, these are things which America doesn't think about, or Trump wouldn't mention because it's America first. But we have an interest as well. And therefore, Putin talking about all of this with Prime Minister Modi is indicative of how he sees India.
The exchange between the two leaders on the peace settlement and like Vishnu, like you just mentioned, the fact that President Putin has, shared parts of that peace settlement with Prime Minister Modi after Prime Minister Modi talked about this being an era of peace, not war, for the fourth or the fifth time in the last couple of years, is in many ways, and I'm sure the both of you agree, perhaps the most important takeaway from this summit. The agreements are happening. The agreements were in many ways predictable. They were on the table. They were going to happen. Energy, trade, defense, all of that. But the war in Ukraine is something that few people wanted to bring up during Putin's visit. But how can it not? We're awaiting reactions that they're going to come in from the United States, from the European Union, most certainly from Ukraine, and that will come in a short while from now. But this exchange sends out a message of autonomy. It sends out a message of independence. It sends out a very clear message that, it is no exaggeration, Gauri, to somehow even look at India perhaps being in the most unique possible position to actually play a role in bringing some kind of peace between India and Ukraine.
Because, India is also the only country, Shiv, which has that back channel lines of communication. Unless you talk to both sides, how do you resolve a conflict? And I think that's the single biggest thing. Before we continue this, I believe let's play out some of those important, snippets of what the two leaders said, and then we come back and take this forward.
आज भारत और रूस के 23वें शिखर सम्मेलन में राष्ट्रपति पुतिन का स्वागत करते हुए मुझे बहुत खुशी हो रही है। उनकी यात्रा ऐसे समय हो रही है जब हमारे द्विपक्षीय संबंध कई ऐतिहासिक माइलस्टोन के दौर से गुजर रहे हैं। ठीक 25 वर्ष पहले राष्ट्रपति पुतिन ने हमारी स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप की नींव रखी थी। 15 वर्ष पहले 2010 में हमारी साझेदारी को स्पेशल एंड प्रिविलेज स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप का दर्जा मिला। फ्रेंड्स, पिछले 8 दशकों में विश्व में अनेक उतार चढ़ाव आए हैं। मानवता को अनेक चुनौतियों और संकटों से गुजरना पड़ा है, और इन सब के बीच भी भारत रूस मित्रता एक ध्रुव तारे की तरह बनी रही है। परस्पर सम्मान और गहरे विश्वास पर टिके ये संबंध समय की हर कसौटी पर हमेशा खरे उतरे हैं। आज हमने इस नींव को और मजबूत करने के लिए सहयोग के सभी पहलुओं पर चर्चा की। आतंकवाद के विरुद्ध लड़ाई में भारत और रूस ने लंबे समय से कंधा मिलाकर सहयोग किया है। पहलगाम में हुआ आतंकी हमला हो या क्रोकस सिटी हॉल पर किया गया कायरतापूर्ण आघात, इन सभी घटनाओं की जड़ एक ही है। भारत का अटल विश्वास है कि आतंकवाद मानवता के मूल्यों पर सीधा प्रहार है, और इसके विरुद्ध वैश्विक एकता ही हमारी सबसे बड़ी ताकत है।
Due to the fact that our countries are important partners of one another in trade, investment and technologies. Last year, our bilateral trade turnover has grown by 12%, setting another record. According to different data, this number may look different, but it is generally around $64 billion. Currently, we are forecasting that the results of this year will remain at the same impressive level. At the same time, as I perceive it, we are up to the task of getting this number to the level of $100 billion. And to reach this important goal, we have harmonized the program of development of Russian-Indian economic cooperation until 2030. This comprehensive document gives us concrete set of objectives. The Intergovernmental Commission, the ministries and different agencies of the economic bloc of both countries have set objectives to remove barriers hampering the goods flows and capitals. Russian rubles have been used to provide loans for large joint projects. We are also seeing successful partnership in energy. Russia is a reliable supplier of oil, gas, coal, and everything that is required for the development of India's energy. We are ready to continue uninterrupted shipments of fuel for the fast-growing Indian economy. Of course, the bilateral interaction in energy does not limit to that.
Well, if you thought that the visit of the Russian president to India was the biggest news story, think again. This is the crisis in IndiGo. It's absolutely, completely unprecedented. Tens of thousands of passengers impacted as a result of a complete meltdown in the network structure of the airline. All flights from Delhi have been cancelled. Departures from Delhi have been cancelled till midnight, and that's just one of the problems that IndiGo faces. What is this all about? In simple terms, they don't have enough pilots to fulfill the new regulations enforced by India's regulator for airlines to operate flights safely. So what they've done now is they've negotiated with the DGCA, India's regulator, which has begun the process of rolling back some of the new safety norms to ensure that airlines like IndiGo can actually operate. And as I understand it, after IndiGo, some of the other airlines have now gone to the regulator and said that if you're rolling back these guidelines for IndiGo, then you need to roll them back for our airline as well. Now, the guidelines themselves are essentially are linked to fatigue. Fatigue is a killer in international aviation. There is a strong statistical and scientific understanding of the fact that if pilots are tired, then they become dangerous potentially in the operation of aircraft. Therefore, 2 years back, the government had mandated several norms and had said that all airlines have to follow this. IndiGo knew about this. They didn't think it would happen so far, and they made a hash of actually ensuring that they've got enough pilots in time to meet these norms. Now, as a result of the crisis that we see across India, where tens of thousands of passengers have been impacted, the airline has gone back to the regulator and has said, please, for us to get our act together, we need you to give us permission to operate, using the old norms until such time as we can get our act together. So yes, eventually the airline will get its act together. Nobody knows how many days, but that comes at the cost of flight safety. And let's not have any two opinions about that.
No, Sherbir Panag, who's a well-known corporate governance lawyer, is with me live. Sherbir, welcome. We've just seen the comments that you've put out on your social media about this IndiGo mess. Go ahead and explain to us how you're viewing it and why you're pointing a very angry finger right now at IndiGo. Sherbir.
Thank you, Shiv. Thank you for having me. Shiv, I think at the core of it is aviation safety and passenger safety. Indian flight duty norms were way below global average, below the global benchmark in this regard, and the DGCA, rightly so, nudged, though not something that came out entirely of their own reckoning, change the flight duty time limit norms. And this saga is not a 5-6 month saga or the 1 month saga as IndiGo has claimed. This has been going on since 2024. The original implementation was planned for June 2024, 1st June 2024, in fact. And then this matter unfolded with the Delhi High Court. After that, it was July. But this was clearly a case of an institution with a monopoly in India, using its position of power and its in Indian aviation to push these norms out. And let me just give you some examples, Shiv, of what are the kind of things that have been pushed out, which would be unacceptable anywhere else. The weekly rest period had to be expanded to 48 hours from 36 hours, which was a challenge. Night landings, which is something that IndiGo has pushed the hardest for. And in fact, just before I've come onto the show, I saw that the DGC has unfortunately done a turnaround on this. Yeah. Between 12 a.m. at night and 6 a.m. in the morning, they have gone back to the old norms, which allowed for up to 6 landings to take place in a roster cycle, which the new norms are supposed to reduce to 2. And then there are the several other creative means through which the crews are stretched. both the flying crew as well as the cabin crew and the ground staff. A lot of the problems that are currently being faced are, as one is seeing on Twitter, is pilots have shown up, but there is no crew on ground to offload bags or to deplane or to embark passengers. So this is a complete issue that has come into place, where IndiGo has profited significantly from pushing all its employees to the absolute brink and now is unable to do so. And then when you look at the timeline, you are looking at a period that they had advance notice. Everybody knew there was the 1 July 2025 cutoff period. Then there was 1 November. What happened in the last 25, 26 days? This is literally looking like blackmail, where some amount by default and some amount by design, IndiGo is just pushing the DGCA to a position of saying, look, there's a holiday season coming up, something else is coming up. All of this is fine, but is all of this going to be done at the altar of safety? And I think you all rightly remarked that pilot fatigue is a significant concern, and we cannot take it lightly. And what is this? If they couldn't figure this out in the last 18 months? What's going to change? What's going to change between now and February? Also, at a point of time when you're going to be dealing with so many other aspects, you're going to be dealing with fog and various other issues that cause disruption. So, crew.
I think there's also a point to be made about the pace of growth in the Indian aviation sector. We all welcome it. It adds to our economic growth, and that's all very welcome. But if you don't have enough pilots, right, to match the number of aircraft that you're acquiring, it's usually the other way around, then we are in real trouble. Now, the fact of the matter is, overall, if IndiGo were to operate with the new guidelines, they would need more than 1,000 more captains and first officers. They simply don't have that. And you cannot just produce captains and first officers out of the air. And therefore, when one looks at regulating growth, perhaps there is a case over here that needs to be made that, hang on, you may have the biggest number of orders in the world, you might be acquiring a plane every week, but then if you cannot fly them and you have these crazy schedules where you try and operate n number of flights, it's just unsafe.
Vishnu, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think we've also got to go back to the root cause of where this has come in. Let's look at the fact about the systematic drain, as in a significant portion of the Middle Eastern carriers, whether it's Qatar, Emirates, Etihad, are effectively run by Indian pilots, several of whom, either out of professional response, and not all just going because there are US dollar salaries to be taken, but some out of the professional responsibility of not flying these crazy hours at the cost of their personal health, but also passenger safety. Those circumstances also need to be evaluated. And we've got to go back. Look, I am absolutely pro-business. It's my job to be pro-business. I'm as capitalist as they come. But this is an airline that has squeezed every single margin. And that's well and good so long as it's taking an aero bridge and putting in a ladder that was an incredible innovation to reduce cost. But now this is at the cost of passenger safety, when the entire business model has turned into buying out the Airbus production line, and there is absolutely no focus out here. Flights are overbooked. And when flights do get overbooked, oversubscribed, and you don't have ground staff, IndiGo is not just dealing with a pilot problem, they're also dealing with a ground staff problem. The Pune airport shutdown is entirely linked to a ground staff problem. So this is a net business decision that they took, which helped the top line and is now coming back to bite them.
I've got some breaking news coming in, and I've been able to confirm this from sources within the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, that there are a few pilots who were deputed to the DGCA, right, as examiners, as instructors, to assist the overall process of monitoring, who have now been taken back into the airline so that they can fly. So short is the pilot, right? It's not necessarily out of the ordinary. Eventually, these pilots would make it back to their own airline. But the crisis is such that those deputed to work with the regulator have actually come back into the airline. That's number one. Number two, and Sherbir, come in on this point, there is a plea from the DGCA, the regulator, to associations of pilots saying, please help us, please ensure that operations are smooth. Essentially, don't mess up the process more than it is. Now, our pilot bodies, for right or for wrong, are extremely vocal, right? Very often for the right reasons. Flight safety, this, that and the other. But in a situation like this, the DGCA specifies heading into fog season, which is low visibility season for the benefit of our viewers, heading into the end of the year, marriage season, pilots also, the regulator says, please help us help you. What does it say if a regulator has to reach out to pilots and says, yaar, kaam karo, help everybody out?
Vishnu, look, let's break this down into two parts. If there are pilots who are choosing to make this a moment of civil disobedience and are planning to not come back to their jobs because they're seeing that they're seeing the chaos that's ensuing, I think that's a very different class. But if somebody as a professional, we've always gone through this, Vishnu, you've covered the armed forces for so long. The captain of the aircraft is in charge of the safety of the aircraft. If somebody who's going to be fatigued, who's not slept, who IndiGo through their creative means is going to get back and say, okay, you've done a night landing, but now you can fly back passenger and that should be okay. Or you have a scheduled day of leave, but we're not going to count it and we're going to try and create chaos. I think we've got to